Hard to hear you. Any discussion? Any changes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Special meeting on September 20th, 2021. Do you have a microphone? Yeah. It's not working. Can't hear a thing.
Can't hear a thing.
Yeah, did I have a second?
There it is.
There you go.
Move to approve the minutes of September 20th special meeting.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Okay, next up, we have public comment. Is anybody here for a 5-minute public comment?
The name on the list.
We do that one first?
Yes.
Okay. First up, we have Jamie Anderson with general questions about recent council meetings.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to point out one thing.
Yes, go ahead, John.
And I think this is about a personnel issue, but the city's refusal to comment publicly on personnel matters related to the position of the chief of police aligns with its longstanding policy and practice of the city not to comment on personnel matters in public session. As such, the city's lack of public comment on this matter should not be construed to infer any specific information related to personnel matters related to the chief of police or any other city employee. The private lives of any city employee is respected through this long-standing practice. The city encourages all employees to utilize the city's well-established administrative processes and grievance procedures to address personnel concerns. This policy is distributed to all City of Marysville employees. The chief of police, like any other non-elected employee of the City of Marysville, is entitled to address personnel issues through this grievance process. The governing body is committed to continuing to ensure that the position of chief of police, as well as the police department as a whole, operates in accordance with the city's mission for the department and in line with the community's policing goals and performance standards. The governing body thanks the former chief for his years of service to the community and wishes him the best in his future endeavors.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay, Jamie?
Okay. Do I need to state my address and ward as well? Okay, Jamie Anderson, 1203 Park Place, and I live in Ward 1. Thank you very much for allowing me to be on the agenda for a longer amount of time this evening. I appreciate your statement on personnel, and I am not going to be asking questions specifically about Chief Ackerman. I am here because confusion is breeding a lot of negativity in our community. People are mistrusting our leadership because of the lack of transparency in city government. No one understands what's going on and why things are happening the way that they are. So my goal for being here this evening is to remedy that to some degree by allowing you, our mayor, city administrator, and council members, to answer some questions and help your constituents better understand. I truly hope you demonstrate this evening that you want the city's public to understand and be informed. I know you will not answer any questions related to personnel, so I'm going to try very hard not to include anything specifically about Chief Ackerman. The city's support of our chief, I'm not going to say former chief, he is our chief. He has been well established in his support is well established. And I would simply like to help everyone get on the same page about recent decisions and policies. So I would first like to discuss Ordinance 1900, which has been a lot of discussion in the community. There's been articles in the newspaper about it. I'm a teacher and I'm new to city policies and government, so please feel free to correct me if I use the wrong word or I cite something incorrectly. It is my understanding from reading the newspaper and going through city code that before Ordinance 1900 was passed, or possibly before the erroneously worded ordinance was passed, the city administrator did not have the power to terminate two positions without a vote. The city clerk and the chief of police, is that correct?
No.
Okay, can you clarify for us?
We had, the code book was changed in
2011.
And
2011.
And at that time, that was changed before any of us were on council. In
Okay.
the code book.
What was it changed to?
Can you explain what was changed this summer that resulted in a 4-4 vote with the mayor, with you breaking the tie? Can you explain what was changed?
What we basically had was we had a situation where we had the code book said one thing.
Okay, and what
And
exactly did the code book say?
The code book said that the chief of police was a supervisor and was under the city administrator.
Okay.
My understanding is that back in 2011, they wanted to get it more of a pyramid type situation. You had city administrator at the top and it pyramided down from there. And part of the reasoning too is because part of the reasoning was to strip some power from the mayor, because if you have a bunch of positions that are appointed, if you get a different mayor in there, they could just choose to not reappoint people. I mean, it gives a lot of power to the mayor, and I mean, people that have followed the last couple of years, we've stripped some power from the mayor. I mean, I've had a lot of power stripped from me.
Okay, so what were the
And I'll
technical
support-
errors that were changed? What were the technical errors that were changed?
It was just a disagreement in between what our
Did it-
policy said and what the charter ordinance said.
Yeah, I would love for someone else to
John-
answer
yeah,
that.
John
Great.
can
It
answer
was a
better.
polite way of saying that the there was a strong desire of certain employees to keep under the pre-2011. And so to clarify it, make it crystal clear about the hierarchy and the chain of command.
Okay, I do see that in this charter ordinance number 9, correct, we're on the right place, that they can be terminated with cause. Can you elaborate on what exactly with cause means, please?
No. John?
For cause means what it, the plain meaning of the language is, for any type of act that is considered inappropriate.
Okay, so an inappropriate act is considered a cause?
That's my best definition of it off the cuff. But, you know, for cause implies more misfeasance or malfeasance.
Okay, and this cause does not have to be explained when the termination, so when it says that they can be terminated with cause, the cause does not need to be
I think
given?
even before 2011, employee matters were confidential.
I don't mean to us, I mean, you know, when the decision is made, between the people that make the decision and the employee.
The decision makers would know, but it would not be a public information.
But the employee would as well?
Employee would know?
The employee would be given this cause as well?
Well, the process is follows. You meet with the supervisor, actions taken, the appeal to the grievance procedures, all those are laid out during the grievance procedures.
Okay, we'll get to that.
If you take advantage of the grievance procedures, then it's all laid out in detail.
Okay.
However, when you approach these matters, you're not to publicly harass, embarrass the employee. It's done in a manner to be handled confidentially so that it's avoided.
Okay, so then the ordinance now does give the city administrator when it was cleaned up, the authority to terminate both the chief of police and the city clerk now without a vote. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say now.
Huh?
I would not say now. I think it started back in 2011.
Okay, but it does encompass both of those positions?
The city police chief is subject to that 2011.
And the city clerk
The
as well?
city clerk is not right now.
Okay, so the ordinance did not, it was only for the chief of police that was changed. It was not changed to put that pyramid, so we got somebody that's not in the pyramid?
The intent was not to subject the city clerk to political whims, which had done in the past. That was something of recollection back in 2011.
Okay, well, I just also want to point out that Bobby is my ward council member, and we had a very nice, robust, intellectual discussion on social media, and I questioned her about that, that question about whether the city clerk was wrapped into that ordinance, and she told me she actually didn't know and that she was going to look it up. And I will say that that is very alarming to me, that not only are we voting on things that we don't understand, but that, Bobby, also you made the motion for the ordinance. And so if I'm asking these questions...
Discussion about the city clerk at the time. What we were having the discussion about was the police chief.
Could we get back to your questions, please?
Yes.
Yep, I'm just pointing that out, that I find that we should probably get clarity on these things before we're making decisions. And who proposed the change that was done this summer? Is that in the record, or that you did, city attorney? Is that correct?
I was asked to draft something up to clarify any confusion and any misgivings related to the hierarchy that the council wanted to see.
And is that knowledge, are we able to ask who asked you to do that?
I think I'm not sure if it's in the memo or not. I have to go back and look at it.
Okay. Anybody? No? Okay. All right, so we'll move on. I would now like to talk about the recently approved, with a vote of 5-3, so it was not unanimous, audit of the police department policies. Read in the newspaper that it's about the policies, and it's also my understanding that our police department recently, in December, which was 9 months ago, was brought up to national standard on all of our policies by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. This process cost our city several $1,000s, took a few months to complete, and in fact, Marysville was the smallest law enforcement agency in Kansas to do this, and the second smallest agency in the nation to get this national accreditation. Is this correct? It was done in December? Anybody?
I believe so. I found out about it last week.
The answer is
Okay?
yes.
And the city council approved these policies once they were updated, correct?
We've never seen them.
Never
Signed.
seen
December?
That I know of,
Okay, but we
council's never
approved
seen.
this national accreditation, none, that was, yes? Okay,
The
yep,
first year, it was a grant
Yeah.
that they got paid for.
okay.
The
This
city didn't
last
pay
year?
for it.
Okay. Can you please explain how this new audit will be different than having a national organization come in to update our policies?
We haven't found anybody to do the audit yet. All the council approved last week was to inquire if we could find somebody that would be willing to do an audit.
And why is this new audit deemed necessary after we have nationally accredited policies?
I'll answer that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because in the, with a change in any department head, even my level, it should be on, whenever it happens, there should be an audit of what's going on. Just to make sure if somebody takes over that department, the city, that they have a clean bill of health, and it should be standard procedure no matter where you're at.
Well, I think words matter. Audit is not a good word. I think it's performance is what they're looking at.
And have we had, who will be selecting this? Well, from what I understand from the newspaper, that our city administrator explained that you received information that this type of audit can be done by a person coming from a larger police department or a private investigator with law enforcement experience. And where was that information obtained? That's what what's standard?
General inquiry.
General inquiry? Okay, and who will be selecting our auditor?
It would be the council.
Council.
Our council vote?
Yes.
Okay, and have we had any estimated costs on that yet, or?
No, we haven't had anybody yet.
Okay, well, just to be clear, I feel to point out that one person is now coming in to audit our department that is, you know, a national accreditation organization just did last year.
One thing we haven't fully discussed that I'd be recommending that a law firm be hired to do that, an outside.
Okay.
Because they're more familiar with the legal standards and performance
I
standards.
agree. I
required.
love when law agencies are involved in discussions. In fact, Councilmember Hughes in the July 26 meeting requested an opinion from an outside legal agency, the Attorney General's office, on the ordinance that went 4-4 with the mayor tying the vote.
I'd be glad that.
It was not a 4-4.
Oh, that one?
2-4.
Oh, 2-4.
The letter would have
I'm so sorry.
said, Dear Attorney General, do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision? That'd be embarrassing.
What? I'm sorry, what?
The Attorney General opinion you're talking about would state, do you agree with the Supreme Court's opinion?
Okay, well,
I mean-
just
John,
outside
explain
agencies
to
are
them
always
that
helpful.
you got a Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court's ruled on this issue on
And when
on
was the
charter
last time the
ordinances.
city's policies were audited? Was it 1999? Does that sound correct? Or has your handbook, like when's the last time the handbook policies been audited?
Last year.
Well, the policies were gone through and
The auditors look at them every year, but I don't.
Every year.
It's not official.
The new book was approved in 2012, but they are evaluated every year.
Okay, so this handbook, policy H4 in your employee handbook outlines the procedure for disciplinary action regarding a city employee. It reads that the following is required in these situations: documentation and writing of the problem and what disciplinary action will be taken, a meeting with the employee within 10 days to review that problem and propose disciplinary action. And this is a direct quote: the employee is given the opportunity to refute the facts or argue against the proposed disciplinary action. Is the city still adhering to policy H4 in the handbook?
Yes.
Yes, so it's safe to assume that those steps were taken, have been taken this year with any type of personnel disciplinary action?
Yeah.
Okay. And shortly after H4, there's a whole section on the grievance hearings, which the city attorney has just pointed out. Is an employee able to file a grievance without the written cause and evidence given as in policy H4?
Yeah, they can file a grievance of an action, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that policy is grounded in the Loudermill hearing, that the employee is entitled to present their side of the story before the employer makes a decision. Is that something that the city is looked up?
Not before. No, it's the grievance is in response to a disciplinary action.
So the employee given the opportunity to refute the facts and argue against the proposed disciplinary action before it's taken is also still being adhered by?
He had an opportunity, I'll let you talk about that.
The employee was afforded those rights, and sometimes he participated, sometimes he didn't.
Okay?
And
All right.
the supervisor would be the administrator.
Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening, helping me create a layer of transparency over the events happening in our city government. I'd like to close by returning to our city our city's code of ethics stated in the City Code, Chapter 1, Article 2. It states that the city administrator, mayor, and city council members are responsible to the people, and regardless of personal considerations, they must keep long-term public interest as the primary concern, and I'm seriously questioning whether or not that is being adhered or abided by. The termination of our well-respected and loved chief of 22 years cannot be considered the best decision for long-term public interest. The spending of taxpayer money to complete an after-the-fact audit of a department that was recently nationally accredited and cannot be considered being responsible to the people. And in fact, auditing policies of a department when our city itself does not seem to be following their own policies and their handbook cannot be described as anything other than hypocritical. So thank you.
All right, is anyone else here for 5-minute public comment? Yes.
My name's Rex Estes. I've lived here all my life. Live over here on Calhoun Street. Got a couple things to go through. Number one, as I sit right here, just right now, a bunch of you are just blowing in the wind. I talked to Mr. Ackerman before I came here to find out whether he had had a hearing with y'all or any kind of council meeting on the subject matter, and he told me no. He told me in August, the administrator asked him to come down to a meeting. He got here for the meeting. The administrator didn't want to have the meeting. So he hadn't talked to anyone since. And I don't think he lied to me about anything, but if he did, so be it. I'm going to tell you what he told me. He said, to this day, he still does not know and has not been told his reasoning for being terminated. Even the letter he received in the mail doesn't give a reason. It just said that he's terminated. Okay? Now, as far as these ordinances, when you say Ordinance 1900, we all know why that was put in. The attorney on the 14th, I believe, of June or July, he added it to the agenda. On the 28th, he presented that 1900, saying there was technical errors. I think he's probably the one that wrote it up in 2020. So how all of a sudden he knew there was errors in it over a year later that he had to go back and look at it, who knows, okay? So y'all went ahead and changed that, and Terry, he had requested for the State Attorney General opinion because y'all know everything about ordinances, all the council members. 4 of you voted no, that not to get an opinion. So therefore, I thought you 4 probably knew everything about the ordinances. Or why would you vote 2 yays and 4 noes? Why would you not want an opinion? There was question there. His opinion is his opinion. And I heard him tell Terry during the meeting that what his conversation with the Attorney General would be is, well, my opinion isn't the same as some of the council members. So that's how the conversation would have went. So he said he'd want the Attorney General to decide whether he was right, his opinion, or the council. Okay, that's what I heard during the meeting. So, we'll go on by this here ordinance 1900, and Terry asking for the help of the opinion. Okay, and then we had some research done on that also, where the city attorney, it was asked if it was wise to give up the council's vote. And here's what the attorney said. He said it was too risky for the governing body to supervise employees on a day-to-day basis. That was his answer. Okay? You guys, you know that you don't supervise any of them employees. That's the administrator's job. That's your job. We all know that. It's your job. The department heads answer to you, and the department heads take care of their people under them. So none of you all are supervising employees day to day. But that was his answer. Okay, it's too risky. That's a bunch of bull. Okay, for you all to sit there and take that in as anything, because you know it's not true. Okay? So, we'll go on here to the administrator's role in the code. 1-301. At the first meeting of April each year, the mayor, by and with the consent of the council, may appoint city attorney, municipal judge, fire chief, and it should say police chief, of course, because at that time that would be done also, and such other officers as may deemed necessary for the best interest of the city. Such officers hold their respective offices for a term of 1 year from and after the first day of May of such year, or until their successors have been appointed and qualified. A majority of all members of the council may remove any such officer or employee, or for good cause. The mayor may suspend or remove any such officer with the consent of the council. No appointed officer shall be removed for any reason until such officer has been given notice and afforded the opportunity for a hearing. You didn't give the chief of police the opportunity for a hearing. You haven't even talked to him. You haven't, I mean, you haven't given him a hearing. He came here to have a discussion. And that's all of you governing body. That's all of you guys. You are the governing body. You can screw up any ordinance that you want, but you can also fix it because you're the governing body. The administrator, the attorney, they don't have a vote. They have an opinion. So if you screwed up an ordinance and you took away your right to have a vote on things like you did, you can fix it, okay? You're the governing body. I know, I've been on some boards and things where we screwed a few things up, but, you know, we fixed it. So, also, I want to go to this here real quick. These are some of the things that the administrator under the code is in charge of. The one that gets me the most probably is, pardon me, this is all I had here. The last X of this here deal, it says, hire and fire employees other than appointed officers described herein. Okay, so the first paragraph gives you the clerk, the municipal judge. It gives a bunch of different people. And right here it says you can't hire and fire them people that are mentioned in this article. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. I don't know. Okay, so we know you didn't give the guy a hearing. You just blew that by. I talked to him, and This guy, he gave 22 years to this city. And you sit up there and say you respect him at the beginning of this meeting and what he's did for the city and wish him well. Come on. If you respected anybody, you guys would have had a hearing. Who would not want to know what's going on? Both sides. That's the way the governing body works. It's not one man's decision.
As taxpayers, we want to know.
It's not one
We want
man's.
to vote.
You know, if half of you knew why, but you
Mr. Mayor,
didn't tell him.
one thing is, that's why you have the grievance procedure.
There's a grievance
And,
procedure.
But you-
that's how you get aired. The council would serve on that grievance committee. And obviously,
Yes.
the conflict of interest, and you start skipping these stages. There's nothing wrong with the grievance procedure.
You gotta know what you're grieving. He's never been told the reason he was let go. So how can he grieve that?
That would be his grievance. And then they'd come out to the grievance process.
It is.
He needs to get involved in the process. And if I recall the code, there's no independent head. Nobody is a Dr. Fossey here.
I'm just gonna let you guys know one more time that you are the governing body of this city. You was elected by the people of this city. Okay? We trusted you. I mean, you doing ordinances, people ain't looking at every ordinance in the paper and scanning it down and make sure y'all are doing the right thing, because we trusted you. But I'll guarantee you now, everything that gets changed or put in the paper is going to be reviewed by everybody, because of you have made the bed you're going to sleep in. As far as the city administrator, I don't know what the beef is. I don't know why everyone give up their right to vote to that man. I don't have anything against you, but it's not one man's decision. And it's not for us, the city, to decide if that chief of police did something bad or wrong. He may have made a mistake, okay? But 22 years of service, shouldn't he at least get a hearing? Shouldn't he at least be heard? So
There was a process, and he did not participate in that process.
Well,
Come
the
on.
time may have not expired yet. The time may have not expired.
Yes, it has.
But he should ask for the hearing.
He should have.
He should have.
Anybody tell him he could ask for a hearing?
the whole thing
He's a-
is, I'm going
he's
to be
a-
done here. I'm very disappointed. I know that Kevin has served on, I know y'all are here for a reason. For the better of the city, right? That's why you're here. That's why you serve on these things.
That's why they should be here.
So, what happened? Because the decision of giving up your rights, and you still haven't given it up really, because you're the governing body and you can change it. Okay? Just know that from me. My dad was a police officer for 15 years in this city, in the 60s and 70s, okay? And he got crapped on. He was assistant chief 7 years. Okay, the chief retired. Well, you think the assistant chief of 7 years probably going to be next in line, right? No, the mayor chose another man. Okay, so but that's here and over there, you know.
We'd probably better, because you're over the 5 minutes, and there are a lot of other people here I know that have probably come to speak too.
Yeah.
So I'd wrap it up quick.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys. Thanks for your service. But do the right thing. I'm telling you, you're the governing body. You're their bosses, okay? They have an opinion. That's it. They don't have a vote. So don't be persuaded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as you know, I have been here before, and I think this whole damn thing.
name-
My name is Sandy Schmitz. I live in Marysville, Kansas, and I run the Garden of Eden, and I'm sure everybody knows me, which doesn't matter. But anyway, I think this whole damn thing's nothing but bullshit. And I mean strict bullshit. What you guys have done, every goddamn single one of you, whatever you've done, whether you say that it was right or it's wrong, is just plain bullshit. And I demand, and I know you won't give me anything tonight, but I think that we need to demand as a community some answers, some answers. This man has devoted his whole life. He's a good man. He's probably better than any of us here. Forgive me. But honestly, God, let's get this over. Let's get it settled and quit being like a bunch of communists that are hiding all the, hiding everything. Thank you, but no thank you.
Jada Ackerman, 1200 Park Place. One question. You said that there is a grievance policy and there's a grievance procedure. Do you have a policy in sending instructions to any employees that have a right to that hearing and how they proceed to make that happen?
Ms. Brown, I'm not sure if I go into what, there was acknowledgement that he does have a copy of the policy. I can't go any further than that. But
So no,
yes.
thank you.
No, that's not what he
That's not
said.
right.
Okay.
I'm Gina Miller, and I'm probably a little bit different than everybody else here. I am not a lifelong resident of Marysville. I've lived at 1104 Alpha for 2.5 years, and I only have 2 points I want to make. One is I've only known Todd for a couple of years, and I've been really impressed that even though we're probably as politically opposite as it can be, he's one of the most decent, most honorable, and best men that I have had the opportunity to know since I've lived in Marysville. And when I talked to him a week ago Sunday, he was very open and upfront that he didn't have a clue as to why he was fired. And after 22 years of living in Marysville, you may not need to tell me why he was fired. You may not need to tell him why he was fired, or him, or her. But by God, you owe it to him as to why he was fired. After 22 years of living and working in this city, that man has a right to know why. And if you had just cause to fire him, well and good. But tell him why. You owe that to him. And if you didn't have just cause, then he needs to be reinstated with back pay and a public apology. If it was a personality... Second of all, this city should not be a dictatorship. The city council was elected to represent us, and they should not be signing over their power to hire and fire to one man. And I do think it's wise to have an outsider come in that is not involved with the names and the local politics. That is a good decision. But when it comes to something as big as letting go a police chief that has been here for 22 years, it needs to go to a vote before the city council. Now, I understand that you all want to be liked and you don't want to make the hard decisions, but that is why you are elected. So if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
My name is Angela Sutton. I'm not a resident of Marysville, but I am a native, and I was a resident up until about a month ago. I voted some of you to be here. First, I want to thank you for giving us your attention and being here. Many people don't realize how many hours are actually dedicated to being in a room that's generally empty. But the role that each of you have is a difficult one. Whether you're elected or selected, you carry the weight of responsibility to represent the people of this Marysville community. This community is no stranger to making sure integrity is upheld. The many people behind me are here to show you where their concern is, and you've heard a lot of it. Most of this time, this room is very empty. And for those that will be viewing this video, there's people standing. They filled all the seats. That says a lot about what they care about. Don't let bad politics cloud good decisions. And tell the truth, or at least don't lie. We all deserve that.
Please, represent these people like they expect you to. We expect way more out of you than some of the bigger governing parties in this nation. Many of us have lost faith in bigger governing bodies. We have a lot of faith in you to do the right thing. We have a lot of pride in our very small community, but we make some really big waves. Thank you.
Hello.
I'm Murdoch. My daughter asked me to be nice. I find that hard to do.
Amen.
I understand the city administrator fired the chief of police, Todd Ackerman, with the consent of this council. I don't understand why this council would give the administrator that much power. Smells like rotten eggs to me. I can't believe that this council, with the advice of the city administrator, fired Chief Ackerman without a hearing. That's not the way we do things in America. There's always two sides to every story. The council needs to explain to the public why this happened. Chief Ackerman needs to be able to reply to these charges. I had problems with my chief of police. He was insubordinate. The administrator says, I fired the chief of police because he was insubordinate. I told my chief of police, you got to work Saturday nights because Marysville is having all kinds of vandalism on Saturday night. My chief of police refused. My council put him on administrative leave for 7 days until we could solve our problems. I don't understand why this council didn't put Chief Ackerman on probation for 7 days so these problems could be solved. I don't understand all this. Instead, this council left this administrator fire the chief of police. He fired him because he said he was insubordinate. What is insubordinate? Let's talk about some of the things that Chief Ackerman did. And I'm sure that he did some things that were insubordinate. But this city council, some of you which were members of that council, passed an ordinance that anybody that mowed grass on the street could be arrested. Chief Ackerman says, no, I will not arrest somebody for blowing grass out on the street. Good for Chief Ackerman. And I don't know whether this ordinance is still in effect or not, but if it is, it needs to be repealed. Recently, Chief Ackerman was asked if the city of Marysville passed a mask mandate, would you arrest everybody that wasn't wearing a mask? And Chief Ackerman said, no. He answered your question. And he was correct. let's go back a minute to that little word, if. If the city passed an ordinance, would he arrest people not wearing a mask? He answered your question. He said no, because the city didn't have a mask mandate. I don't know whether this administrator is the administrator or the manager of this city. If he's a manager, we don't need a council. I'm a past councilman. I'm a past mayor. And I cannot believe that Chief Ackerman was fired without a hearing. So as a past mayor, I have a suggestion for this council. Remove the authority that you gave this administrator and reinstate Chief Ackerman to the Chief of Police of Marysville, Kansas, until these issues can be solved.
Thank you.
I'm not done. I'm not done. You can cheer me or boo me when I'm done, but let me finish. I have another suggestion for this council. Pay the administrator for his past services and the balance of his contract, and send him out to the pasture.
Hi, my name is Amanda Riles. I live at 1200 Oto. I didn't plan to come here and talk, but as I do, I see people, I don't know any of you except for Keith. And I am so glad none of my kids know any of you. I am so glad that Keith taught my kids from 7th and 8th grade football, along with Todd Ackerman being right there to announce every game, my boys to see men like Keith and Todd. But I'm so glad that my kids didn't get to know the rest of you guys. Thank you.
Mike Nelms, 1411 Jenkins, Ward 1. I wasn't going to talk either, but first of all, I went to school with Todd. My dad sat where you sit right now. My dad was a police officer here. You guys got to get it together. Voting's coming.
Y'all can be voted out.
I'm Linda Weber. I live in Home City. I've lived in Marysville most of my life, and I've never been so ashamed of the way a fine public servant like Todd Ackerman has been treated. I've known Todd and Tim since they were born, along with my son, Sean, who's been a police officer in Salina for 30 years. And this is beyond anything that I would ever have imagined would have happened to Todd. He's a good person, and he's a good police officer, and he does not deserve this over something that you're all so proud of being, not discussing personnel outside of your chambers. When I had a relative of one of you come up to me and tell me that Todd was in deep shit after he had had his heart attack. And I would be willing to bet that there isn't a one of you that hasn't discussed some of this with a family member, which would be in violation of, I assume, the Open Meetings Act too. So I would think that you would want to reconsider what you have done and reverse this decision. How many people do you see here that are in favor of what you have done? And how many are here in favor of having Todd Ackerman as our police chief? I don't understand. Did you not learn it? I worked for the courthouse for 38 years. Did not all of you hear about how a governing body passing responsibilities on down to one person in particular, how she managed to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars? I'm not saying that you're going to do that, but passing down your responsibilities to someone else is ridiculous. If you want this position as a council person, then do the job and quit expecting someone else to do the dirty work. I can't believe that you haven't given Todd a reason for this. A disciplinary procedure for the county has several steps to it. You talk with the person. You put a reprimand in their personnel folder. There had to be so many in the personnel folder before a person was ever dismissed. This is like so totally irresponsible. I ask you all, reverse this decision and do it now and bring the city back together.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Henderson. I live 200 South 10th Street, and you can probably tell me what ward I'm in better than I can. But, 2, look at that. 4. Oh, 4. I thought you held up 2 fingers, dang it. Anyway, all right, so there you go. My contention just kind of along with, everybody else's. But I guess I have a question, like, if I can ask you a question that you can answer. What's been said is that the reason that y'all are quiet, that you're silent, is for Todd's sake, like for the accused or whatever, like because of him, that's why you're being tight-lipped. But I guess my thing is because you don't want to ruin his reputation, right? But all the speculation and everything that's going on as a result of your silence is only more damning. I mean, it's only more condemning, leading people to speculate and wonder and create all kinds of rumors and really ugly stuff. So how much do you think that that's actually succeeding? That the goal that you intended for your silence to accomplish, do you think it's actually accomplishing what you hoped? I mean, you can think about it. You don't have to answer me, but you have to answer to yourselves.
I'm Beth Bankendorf, and I'm not in the city of Marysville. I live in Bremen, and I worked for district court with Tim and Todd when I was in the courthouse. Worked not along with them, but I've known Tim and Todd pretty much this whole time I've come to Marysville. And for me and my kids, that Tim and Todd will do anything for my kids, I want them to know that he'll be here and do something for them. And I think he would do it for you guys too, if you would give him an answer. but I'm not seeing that. I would call Tim and Todd for anything if I needed help. And I think he would help you guys too. But it's not happening, it looks like. So I would like my kids to look up to Tim and Todd because they will help. They're leaders for my kids that are youngsters. And I would like my kids to follow somebody that's a leader, and Tim and Todd both are. So I didn't have much to say tonight, but I have come up here and talked, which is very hard for me in front of the public. But I know Tim and Todd both from being here and working in district court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thought of something else. Just because we don't live in the city of Marysville does not mean that we don't pay some of your taxes. Every time we buy something here, we're paying a tax, a sales tax, that we're helping to pay your taxes for the city. We come to shop here. We pay a 1/2 cent sales tax to help support the hospital, which builds your community. So it's not like we don't have some relationship with the city just because we're not city residents. I sat on this council when I lived here in the city until I got married and I moved to Home City. And I was honest about it that I didn't live here anymore and I resigned. But just because we don't live here doesn't mean we don't have a stake in this city and how you govern this city.
Anyone else here for 5-minute public comment?
Patrick Smith, 1408 North 13th, Ward 2. It's kind of clear Todd hasn't been given a reason why he's been terminated, which that's not fair to him at all. I would like to know why I've been given a reason by one of your relatives who I go to school with. I've heard why Todd's terminated. I thought it was supposed to be confidential. I think Todd should get an answer if one of your relatives can get an answer. Thank you.
Anyone else here for 5-minute public comment? Okay. We'll move on to business and discussion items. First up, we have the alcohol.
Question really quick.
Yes.
I wasn't here through a lot of it, and that's not an excuse. And I'm going to say there's a lot of people who would do things differently, but it's never too late to do the right thing. What would it take to have that communication with Chief Ackerman now? Is it too late? I agree, he deserves answers. So, is there a reason we can't? From our council's perspective, is it because he has counsel? Is there a reason we can't, or can we? Can we have that communication that should have happened before?
Have him file the grievance, and we'll take it up.
So, in order for us to do it, he has to file the grievance, is that correct?
Right, there's a process. Whether or not we'll take the look at it, and the timing could be an issue. The timing could be an issue. The clerk said maybe he's out of time. I do not know.
Do we have the power to extend that time?
It's in the policy that he needs a written explanation before he can file a grievance.
Are you not familiar with the
If I understand right, we're skipping one process, the disciplinary procedures, and then we're going to that the termination, but he needs to file the grievance to get it before the council.
Well, I think if there's a limit, we can extend it. I think we should extend it. If that's what it takes, then the communication should happen.
You bet you can extend it. You're the council.
I don't see any air being cleared without that communication. So what can we do to make that happen? Can we, I mean, how can we facilitate this? How can we get that to happen?
I make a motion.
Well,
Keith?
there was a past meeting. Todd talked to me before this meeting occurred, regular council meeting. He told me that Austin wanted to have an executive session with him. Now, somebody on council must have known that. That never took place. And after the meeting was over, Austin went to Todd and said everything was okay, and stuff like that. So I assumed everything was okay.
Do we have the power to have an executive session with a terminated employee, for lack of a better term? Can we? I'm not saying, I'm not necessarily saying we should, but can we? Can we do that? Is there any reason policy-wise we can't do that?
You can bring anybody into an executive session.
Why isn't the administrator talking?
You don't know.
But my point is, nobody called for that executive session. They chickened out.
Right.
And you had the
At the meeting
power
too.
to do it. Somebody
I
asked
had no reason to call for an executive session.
if you wanted to have an executive session.
I had no reason to.
Okay. Let's get back to the point.
Yeah, he was.
You got several people represent the chief. Have them file a grievance, that's fine.
You can't until you give him the written explanation.
File the grievance.
According to the policy, he's supposed to receive instructions of how to file that grievance.
So can we?
got a policy
Okay, so
handbook.
from a legal perspective, can we, okay. So policy says you're saying policy says he needs to file the grievance to get the reason. Does he have to, or is that a way? Can we do it prospectively, right? Can we not tell him without the grievance being filed? Can we not circumvent our own rules? We make the rules, right?
Make the rules. Make a motion.
That would be, that would be something I would recommend running through the attorneys
Yes.
before you did anything like that.
We have the attorney here, don't you?
Attorneys.
Attorneys.
Oh, you have a bunch of them?
And by
Well,
the
you ought to
way,
get one of them in here, sit
in
in that chair.
America, aren't we allowed our freedoms to ask for an attorney? I mean, I know there's steps here, but we still are in America, in Marysville, Kansas. And aren't we
To
supposed
ask
to be
for,
able to allow a grievance and be given?
are you talking,
No, he done
are you talking for him to get an attorney?
Yes.
I would assume he has an attorney.
I believe 2, but.
Okay, 2, yeah.
If you open up to policy H4, the third bullet says a hearing to dispute the reason. The grievance paragraph is underneath that, which means y'all skipped a step. The hearing in bullet 3, pull out it's H4, pull it up.
Don't you guys have
Bullet
that?
3 says they get the hearing. The grievance is a separate hearing. What happened to that hearing?
What happened to the initial hearing that's supposed to be given to a terminated employee?
You're skipping your own policy.
That's not a grievance part. It's part of the termination or the disciplinary action in your policy book.
You're asking about prior disciplinary actions. It would not be appropriate, Mr. Mayor.
You know, something that could happen is you could all lose your position. Because, you know, you have got a crowd here that's not happy. And if you all want to lose your position, I guess that's okay. You could start from scratch.
What did the attorney just say in regards to the grievance policy? You skipped
I said the prior disciplinary actions are not appropriate for conversation.
You're making circular arguments here. File a grievance once he knows why he's filed, but he doesn't know why, so he can't file the grievance because he has to have the cause. You're going in circles.
He has a cause. John said he has a cause.
He's terminated.
That's not a cause.
Why?
There's a grievance process.
No, you're so
No, you
wrong.
skipped the hearing.
You are so wrong.
Okay. Is anybody else here for 5-minute public comment?
You already ended that.
Okay.
Did we get anything resolved though? I mean, this man asked questions, legitimate questions about making a motion to have a hearing or whatever to try and get this thing ironed out, and nobody up there will give him an answer. We should talk to some more attorneys. Come on, that's all we need.
If we have to have his attorney present, I understand that, but we need to get the wheels rolling so we can have that conversation.
Less talk, more action.
Okay. Move on to business and discussion items. We have an
When's this gonna happen?
It's
You have a special meeting?
alcohol and consumption at Marysville City Park, Class of 81 reunion on October 1st of 2021. Stacy Mayer. Hello.
Hi, I'm Stacy Mayer. I live at 1006 Laramie. I actually was here for the class reunion. I do have a question in reference to everyone here tonight. You mentioned that the, and I'm not going to get it right, but the policy or whatever was put into place that gave Mr. St. John the power to hire and fire Chief Ackerman. Who has the power to hire and fire the city clerk?
Or the administrator?
Council. Council is a check on the city administrator.
So tell me why it's not the same for all city employees? Why just a certain amount? Why was it just pick and
Because
choose?
you can't have a situation where you have a city administrator that is over positions, but yet council members, they answer to the council and not him. I don't know, I mean, I don't know how that would work to
But
have.
the city attorney has advised all of you that it's risky to be supervising an employee on a day-to-day basis, but yet you've left the city clerk position in that risk. So why are you taking that risk?
She's under Austin too. She's an appointed position.
But you just told me he cannot hire and fire her. The council has to hire and fire her. And Cindy, I am not picking on you. I am
under Austin.
I don't understand why, if it's risky, you took away the power, your own power, and now we have a chief of police that's been here for 22 years that is no longer in that position, but you're risking yourself to go ahead and have the power to decide whether your city clerk needs hired or fired. So that's confusing to me.
You're saying the council has a decision on the clerk or the administrator? It used to be the council and the mayor with consent of the council on, like all of them should be.
She's under Austin. She's an appointed position.
But they have said, and clarify me if I'm
Why council
wrong,
left that when they rewrote the code book, that's something you'd have to ask the previous council.
but the council does have the power to hire and fire the city clerk, correct?
At the city administrator's request.
Okay. So we've,
That's what it says.
I guess I'd like
Is the issue-
clarification
is
why
the-
it's risky.
Can I ask a question of you? Is the issue whether or not you can terminate somebody with or without cause? Because the employee handbook and the policy of the city is everybody's at will.
Well, I'm asking why you advised the city council that it's risky, and so took their power away from your recommendation to let Austin St. John do the hiring and firing, but it's not risky for them to continue to be the one that can make the decision on other city employees.
You have checks and balances and allows the administrator to take the first action, and the appeal process, it covers the city action. They're not personally liable in doing the appeal process.
Okay, and I believe it's been established that that process has not been followed this evening.
I don't believe so, but that's fine.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say in regards to that. But yes, I am here to ask permission of the council. The class of '81, Marysville High School, is having their 40th reunion the weekend of October 1st, and we would like to put up a tent, and that would be down where Simmons Auditorium used to be, so it would be down the stairs. We would like to have a cooler of beer and soft drinks and water just for the use of our classmates. I have been advised that we would need to have caution tape around the tent so that we only have one entrance in and out, and we will have people appointed to be watching the cooler at all times and be checking to make sure that no one on the outside is coming in to enjoy that beverage.
Move to approve the request for the class reunion of 81 on October 1st, 21, with the alcohol consumption at Marysville City Park.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, 7-0.
Second part, it's the same thing.
And I'm also here for, to request that the street be blocked off in front of the historic depot, Hendricks Avenue and Alston Street, so we can we will be able to put, we're having our dinner at the historic depot, and so we'd like to be able to set up tables out front in the street to practice COVID distancing, if we may.
Okay.
Move to approve the request for class 81 to close the intersection of Hendricks and Alston on October 2nd, 2021.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Stacy.
If anybody's here, they told me they may not come because of how long it will take. Patrick is here for the homecoming.
Yeah.
Does he hear that?
I don't know. Next up, we have the Marysville High School Homecoming Parade request on October 1st, 2021. Student Council Rep, Patrick?
I'm here on behalf of the student council. Friday, October 1st, we wanted to block off the streets, 12th Street to 8th Street, down Main Street.
We'll just go to 8 this year?
That's...
To the city park, it says.
Yeah, to the city
Excuse
park,
me.
yeah.
I guess it goes right there.
At 1:30, I believe, till 3:30. And we were wondering if we could put up caution tape for parking along 12th Street during the day.
So you don't want anyone parking on 12?
No.
On 12th, from where to where?
He wanted from the highway down to the school all day on Friday. And if that's a big deal, could we work on a time slot?
Starting at 1:30
Yeah.
from the high school to 12th Street to the
Yep,
Broadway?
no parking, yep.
It's the same route as year after year after year, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
Move to approve the request.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0.
They are asking to use golf carts and four-wheelers, so you understand, you're approving that as well. So
All right.
we don't get into.
Thank you.
Golf carts, UTVs, yeah.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have Shane Edwards with the drainage ditch at the Berean Church.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Shane Edwards. I live at 410 Elm. It's Ward 3. I think that's right. Talking on behalf of the Berean Church. We are requesting improvements be done on the drainage off of the airport onto our property. We've come across some extra dirt that we're going to be coming into, and we'd like to expand our parking lot into that. We got some dirt that we can cover up a tube with. What I'm trying to want to do here is, like I said, we want to expand our parking lot. be a 36-inch tube is what you guys have coming across the highway right now on North Street from the airport side over. We want to take a tube and run it from there 60 yards to the south to cover our parking lot, tying the tube directly into the existing tube that is there. Talked to one of the council members, Parker, he's not here right now, but he told me that they make a box that would tie directly into that tube, so we would have no leakage of water off that. It would be a straight shot, so there wouldn't be any erosion issues from that, which you're actually starting to get an erosion issue now, where the water's coming across, it's eaten from the tube that's coming out now. So if we could get that box, it comes with a tube outlet on it that is the exact same size as the tube we'll be running. So it's a straight shot tube, so it will not slow down the water any. So if your 36-inch tube meets the recommendations from the water study that was there before, this should work exactly the same way. I asked to see the water study and they couldn't show it to me. So they couldn't find it in time, which is fine, as long as your tube crossing the street is the right size. What we want to do is we'll do the right size tubings as well.
Do we have a water study?
We don't have a drainage study. I talked with our engineers about that, and the FAA doesn't require a drainage study just to make observations as projects are being done. No official, we don't have a drainage study on file.
So the 36-inch tube that's crossing the road, we're not sure that it has to be that size. It can be a smaller tube then, is that what you're saying? Or are you saying that the 36-inch tube that's crossing the road is what's required to drain the water from the airport?
I'm just saying we don't have a drainage study. Yeah, I can't speak to, I'm not a hydro engineer or whatever the engineer's called.
Okay.
I can't go, that tube's the right size or not. So I don't have that expertise.
You think we need to have a study done?
I think not us. I think if they're gonna change the waterway,
They should have a study done.
I would probably recommend to them that they get a study.
I guess my concern is we already have a problem with Frank Marshall Drive, which is right up there with the drainage and the water running. Is this going to impact that at all?
Let me see.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Terry.
one question when we're talking about this, because you're talking there's no water study or whatever. The city's had this property for a long time. Do they have on their deed, does the city have permission to run it across the street? Was that allowed?
I'm sure that's, because the street is our right of way, so.
It's already coming under the street. I went up and looked at it.
Right.
Yeah.
On the one hand, if you go back in history, was there ever an allowance or something that gave the city the right to put that water there?
Well, it's just, once it leaves your property, naturally water has to go somewhere. And that is a drainage ditch that I think continues and goes onto the lake, I believe, doesn't it? Eventually. And on further, it catches some of the drainage from the hospital, and I don't know if any Landals would go over that way. Probably some of it.
Yep, it all comes down there.
From the airport.
In the airport. And if the airport would ever get developed, like has been thrown around before for an industrial park or anything like that ever, then you're going to add to that.
It's going to add more water to it.
You're going to add water to it.
The reason I was asking about a water study, we're not going to change it to where we're going to add any water to it. I just want to be sure that what we're looking at doing, what you guys already have in place, is large enough to handle the flow of water that is supposed to come in. I'm going exactly off of what the city has. I want to go with the exact size tube the city has running across the street. I don't want to cause any problems with anything that's already in place. So we're not going smaller. We're just, we want to tie straight in. So,
whether that tube is sized right or not, but.
Does it need to go to the planning commission?
Well, that could be one place it could go, yeah.
I don't know, but I would say that would be the first place and let them approve it.
It could,
That's where it probably would go, isn't it?
from my perspective, just looking at the drainage and how it naturally drains, and I'm looking at the map, it naturally drains, you can see it right here. There's a natural drainage, there's the runway right there, and there's our tube that goes underneath the road right there, and they have a natural ditch that runs right through the property. There were some concerns if you put dirt there and a tube there, that if it's not done properly, the water that comes down there already would erode around whatever pipe is there if it's not done correctly.
And part of my concern would be the angle of the tube as well, correct? Because that could, I mean, you don't want to impede it too much, and you don't want to shoot it down too much where it creates a canyon.
No.
Right.
I don't know what that correct angle is. I'm not an engineer.
Well, there's a jetty that comes out there, and then they're gonna put it around this jetty, so I don't know.
We can actually go through it if we need to. That would not be a problem. So, the one cool thing about what Parker suggested, the box he was describing to us also comes with a manhole cover on top of it. So if there was to get debris in the tube, it would be very easy to clean out. It's with a manhole access, so you could clean the tube out both directions, and you wouldn't have a water issue, so.
You can, but also realize that we do have places around town, and when you get a hard rain, that water comes up through our storm drain system and floods
trust me, I
areas.
know about that
I mean,
one.
it can happen. We've got a few in alleys and things where lids will pop off when we get a hard rain and water will go wherever the least restrictions at. I mean, what's council?
What's the timeline you're looking?
We would like to do it as soon as possible. We've got some stuff going on at our church that we are gonna be coming up with some extra dirt, and it would be really nice to be able to put this down on the ground and get it covered up right away. So.
I'm kind of in agreement that planning, you know, they usually take a look at this sort of thing, but I don't want to set them back where they don't get the dirt.
But, so what happens if we let them do it and then everything goes?
Oh, I know.
Who's gonna fix it?
When does planning meet next?
Is it the first or second Thursday?
Yeah, in
Pretty soon.
October. Can you pile the dirt to the side and not put it right
Be
there?
very, very hard, but we
I don't know,
probably
I'm just
could.
asking.
We probably
I don't know
could.
anything about dirt. I mean,
Would this be something the city would help us out with? Because it's the drainage off the airport, which just happens to be city property, coming down onto ours. Would that be something the city would help us out with? Some of this stuff is really hard for me to get prices on, because where I'm a private individual and you guys are a city, you guys can ask the questions and get the prices and get cheaper prices than we can. So is it something that you guys can help us out with?
I'll just say, if it becomes a city process, it's gonna be it takes time. That's not a short process.
There'll be engineering.
There'll be engineering, and it'll be
And as far as it goes, I'm inclined to agree that the city, if the water's coming off and we want it done right, we can share some of that cost, especially if there's engineering involved. I mean, that'd be my inclination, is that, yeah, that would be appropriate, especially if we wanted to engineer it for future possible development. You know, go a little bit oversized, because if part of the airport gets paved, it's gonna shed a lot of water. So, I mean, that would behoove us to do that. I think that would be appropriate.
That's not something that's gonna be,
But it's not gonna be fast.
Yeah.
That's the trouble.
Like next year?
Yeah, how's spring look? Yeah,
Or later?
I thank you guys for listening.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
So are we gonna send this to planning? What's our action here?
What do you wanna do?
We need to do something with it.
yeah.
Oh, I
I mean,
agree.
they wanna get going on it, I know that.
Right, and I hate to inconvenience them by having to pile it to the side and do that, but I also wanna make sure we do it right, so.
Yes. Do you know about how much it cost when we did the drainage study down there by the industrial park?
The industrial park, no. But we just spent $25,000 on a drainage study at Lakeview.
We did that how long ago?
And we had the information.
A couple years ago.
At least two.
Yeah.
Well, didn't we do drainage study on 11th Road too, or have it with that engineering?
That was before my time on.
That was done by the people that put the apartments in.
Oh.
Yeah.
They had, that was required of them because they were gonna build, and usually it's whoever builds does the drainage study. That's how it's required.
I'm gonna kick the hornet's nest of the business park at the airport discussion again, that hasn't come up in a couple years. But when that came up last,
Yes.
I don't remember, was it Ellen Barber brought it to us, correct? But there was some discussion then, so there was no stormwater, we never got that far.
I don't
is
think we got
correct?
that far. I think there was just some preliminary.
I saw drawings. I remember seeing
yeah.
street drawings, for
Yeah.
Pete's sake.
That was
preliminary stuff.
actually way back when the guy who passed away that used to work for the county, he brought in the state, they were the ones who decided that that's where our industrial park should be.
Well,
And
They
so
did
that
a
was where the drawings
study
came
and looked at different sites, and that was what they recommended at the time.
Well, I mean,
That's been a few
I
years
don't
ago.
know, Ellen's still, helping with these kinds of projects, if this is something where we could leverage her as an asset to take a look at this.
The problem I seen with that study when I looked at it was with the horseshoe drive they got in it.
Mhm.
All that water's gonna come back to 20th. 20th's already overloaded with
Well,
water.
and that's why, again, I'm not trying to make this project a multi-year fandango.
Right, no, yeah.
But that's part of where this water needs to go, is at that tube in
Yeah, it
that
needs to
way.
go back.
To the east and to the southeast. So if we can do it as part of looking at that greater project,
But there again, depending on what we end up with, we may end up pulling what's there out and pulling the road out and having to put in a bigger box culvert.
too.
right.
That could happen.
But that road is, showing its age, so maybe now's to have that talk rather than redo the road and then cut a
Yeah.
new road. I don't
Because
wanna
I know
cut a
when
new
they
road.
redid the road originally, down there by Ed Uyghur's place,
Mhm.
that tube was enlarged
Mhm.
to allow for the drainage to the north there to infiltrate through that.
Sure.
So,
So beyond kicking it to planning, I think if there's still an effort, if there's
Either-
still an interest in possibly putting a business, I'm gonna call it a business park rather than industrial park. People think
Which is what they
industrial,
called it,
right.
yeah.
It's a little different thing, then it seems like it should be part of that same project. Even if we don't move forward with that, to be able to design things to do that later, seems like a good idea to me.
going to planning, they're gonna, probably the first thing they're gonna do is request that they do a drainage study.
Yeah.
Is what I'm
And that'll
sure-
go.
that would be
the
the
drain
first
set
place
goes
I would
pretty
go for
much,
it.
it goes the entire watershed to
Yeah.
the bottleneck in question, correct?
Exactly,
So it'd be all of that,
yeah, clear up to the,
to the Crosswinds runway,
Yeah.
up to Landall.
yep. And then you're gonna have to have some design in there if you ever decide to put a business park in there somewhat, so they can figure out
Yeah,
what kind of drainage
sure,
could
because they're gonna have to
possibly
haul, they
come
might have to
off.
haul some dirt in to change the way it flows, so it doesn't go to 20.
Exactly.
So do you need a motion to send it to planning, or is that just an automatic?
Well, okay, I gotta ask this question and don't, so the issue at hand that was brought to the attention is they wanted to expand onto their parking lot and to put, to allow for water to keep flowing, they were gonna put a tube in. One of the issues that we see is whatever they put there with the tube and the parking lot could back up onto our property and then onto the airport's property, and then possibly go over the road, subverting the road itself. So the changes they do on this whole thing is what what's at discussion here. And the property at hand is trying to benefit their own property, and it could have issues with the road and backing up. And not necessarily that backing, if it holds up water, it could just pond on the other side, but it could subvert the road too. So I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, the study should be done on that property by the people who are trying to benefit from it.
I understand, but I would hate to see that happen, and then we come along later with the next plan, which would theoretically be a business park, and then we're telling them, oh, hey, that thing you designed and built, we're gonna need you to go ahead and upgrade that, or I mean, that's a real potentiality. I feel like council, a lot of times, we're putting out fires, we're not thinking about the flammability of other things. I want us to be, I want it to be the chess game. I want to be 3 steps down the line.
Shane, how deep would that tube be, roughly over there?
Right now where it's coming through the road, it's probably, what, 1.5 feet below the road where it's coming through, and it's probably gonna be 10 foot down where it's coming out. But as far as the water study, I guess where I get confused, and maybe I'm speaking out of context, I shouldn't be doing this, but if your 36-inch tube will carry it, so will mine. There shouldn't be a water study even talked about. Because you're telling me that what you're bringing across the road is sufficient. I'm tying the exact same 36 inches into it, taking it 60 yards.
Well, but I guess what we're saying is if say an industrial, or say a business park was put in that area, and then we had to redo
our tube
and put a larger tube in there,
that I
then what is
understand.
gonna happen is if you got a catch basin after that, it's gonna overflow and it's gonna eat out your parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, is what's gonna
We
happen.
don't want to replace your tube in 5
I got you on that one. I got you on that one.
Now, if it's just a drainage ditch, it's just gonna go in that ditch and go.
Why should we pay for that, Austin? Why should we pay for that water study if it's something you guys are going to do to increase the flow of water? Because I want to go up with what you've got right now, because what you've got right now, you're saying sufficient, right?
Okay, so just to bring it back, what you're proposing is basically if you're hooking directly into ours, let's say that's what you're proposing.
Yes.
You're creating a chute right down to the next level wherever it ends. So whereas currently it has a wide open space to go down a trench.
Oh, it's still wide open once it gets past us.
But you're creating just a speed pass for this water to get by and a road, whatever's beyond it.
On our property, yes. Probably, I guess that's the way you want it.
And then what's beyond it right now is Jenkins.
Is what?
Jenkins Street.
It's got a 42-inch tube and a 24-inch tube on that street.
Is that enough?
You tell me. That's Frank Marshall dumping into that.
Yeah.
Because everything comes down around the backside of our property and dumps down in there as well, so.
Correct. So that you see our issue is you're creating a speed pass with that new tube for that water versus a nice open drainage area where it can soak into the ground. And you see where I'm going with this. So that's why you may be giving it a pathway, but you're not allowing it to disperse. You're not allowing it to slow down. You're just going, okay, not our problem anymore. Go on down to Jenkins.
So would that require bigger tubes on Jenkins? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm just
asking. That was my point up front.
Okay.
Is that that's where you guys are changing the drainage ditch for your benefit.
We're changing our property for our benefit, yes.
You're covering up the drainage ditch.
Yes.
With
So-
concrete
Yes, Terry.
or pavement.
All they want to do is get a parking lot there that they don't have to tear up later. If it involves, and they're gonna put a tube under it. If we anticipate we're gonna put more water over there, when they're putting their tube in, why don't the city put one right beside it that'll take care of if we ever do? And they'll never have to bother it again.
But that's not our, is that our easement? I don't think it is.
Okay.
That would help them out, and they get it done, and it'd be ready if we ever decided to send double the water that we're sending now.
So just out of the box question here, what's the approximate price difference with, say, I don't know if the tubes come in 4-inch increments, standard 6. I don't know enough about tubes.
A 36-inch tube,
Once
30
they get
foot
that
long,
big,
is
they
about
probably jump by a foot or something.
$1,400.
So what's the next size? It's 48?
It'd be 48, but I have not looked at that
I
size
was
because
just
I was
curious
only.
what the difference was. You can always put a smaller tube into a bigger tube. So what if that was the solution to avoid a study? What if we assumed we're gonna have to have at least 48 What'd you say the one is at Ed Uyghur's? Did you say you knew what
It's
that
a
was?
box culvert.
Oh, it's a box culvert. Well, I mean, if we made a safe assumption that it was gonna be 48 would probably, best practices, cover it. Could we assist with that upgrade to save those other associated costs now? Just a thought. You can put a small tube into a big tube, much easier than vice
Is it still gonna go too fast? I
versa.
thought the question was it was going too
Well,
fast
it'll go
on the
fast,
other
but it
end.
shouldn't go as fast. Just like a pressure, right, on a power washer. The smaller your nozzle on the end, the more pressure. So if you bring it out a little bit, it should slow it down. I don't know how much, but to a degree. I'm just trying to think of what we could do to save a bunch of costs and a bunch of time and cover our behinds. Would a 48-inch tube fit?
Oh, we can make that work, yeah.
You could make that work
That's-
theoretically. Just a thought. Also, if it's one of those, I don't know if we have previous practices, I'm sure we can buy things at a slight good value. If it was one of those where I don't know. If we could buy, I don't know what the availabilities of tubes are either, that's a question. But if we could buy a 48-inch tube at the right price, we could theoretically buy one cheaper and they could buy a smaller tube. Can we work an arrangement like that? Is that bad practice? I want to make sure it's done right, cheaply, quickly.
And that,
How you move those
a
pieces.
lot of those would be Kent questions.
Right.
A lot of those would be questions for Bargman, probably.
Yeah.
Can we do that then? Can we ask those questions and see? Because that might solve a lot of problems, because it slows the water down, insulates us for future expansion, saves us the money of the study, and gets it done more quickly. Maybe even say, and like I said, if we can buy it right, and they reimburse, or how we do that structure, it may not even cost more, just theoretically. Just a thought.
Good thought.
A good thought.
Check it out.
You know the difference between a steel tube and a plastic tube? What's the pros and cons of each? Plastic's probably way cheaper to steel.
I don't know if I trust it as much.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What's the pros and cons of each style tube?
Yeah, but if it's
What are your
10, 12 foot down.
All I've done is priced what they call the whistle pipe, which is the metal stuff that like the county puts underneath the roads, and they actually have the 36-inch and the 32-foot sections on. They've got that at their place right now.
Okay.
So, and I've trying to talk to them to see if maybe if we do get that from them, that I could replace it from them. Because the big month is January, February to buy those things. That's when the county goes and buys all their pipe is in February. So they get a discount on them. They get longer pieces, cheaper prices, so. Is there anything else I can look up on my end that would help you guys out as city council? Any more information I can try to find? I really think what Parker came up with on the box culvert going into the pipe is a really legitimate thing. That would save erosion, that would save it from leaking, that would save, you'd have a straight up fitting going from pipe to pipe, so you're not gonna have leaks. I think that's the smart man. I don't even know what it's called. He's the one that told me about it, so. But once again, guys, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
I guess if we can check and get back to them, that'd be great.
We can check on pricing.
Check it out.
Might have a lot of options.
Next up, we have Kate Tomer with Black Squirrel Night.
Do you mind if we change the
No,
order
that's
just a
fine.
little bit? So in 1972, your predecessors, those that were sitting on the city council, were dealing with issues like what to do with the city offices. Should they redo the Armour building or should they build a new city hall? They were installing wells for the new city water system, and if the Advocate headlines are correct, there seemed to be some controversy in the way that the mayor was appointing people to city committees. But in the midst of that, our city council in 1972 still kept their sense of humor and seemed to have some fun. So I called Mert Ott, the only living member of the city council from 1972. He was the mayor at that time. And I said, Mert, I've been looking and reading the articles that kind of led up to how we became Black Squirrel City. And I said, I don't understand how that conversation started. And he said, I'll tell you exactly how it started. Phil Morsch was a council person at that time. He lived where his daughter Gloria lives now, at the corner of Walnut Street and South 9th Street, in that big white house with the pillars. And he and his wife, Leota, liked to sit outside and look at the squirrels that were in the park. Or they would look out their kitchen window and they would get upset when a squirrel was killed. And so Phil came to the council seriously and said, I want us to put an ordinance in place that fines people $500 for killing one of our black squirrels. And Mert said, that's when this discussion started about how do we protect our black squirrels. And he said, you know, if you look at who was on the council at that time, Marge Goddard was on that council. And if any of you remember Marge Goddard, she had a great sense of humor. And they ran with this idea to turn us into Black Squirrel City. So if you've done the math, 50 years later, we're about to celebrate the anniversary of Marysville becoming Black Squirrel City. And so if you read the letter that we've put together, you notice some of Marysville's biggest cheerleaders, some Black Squirrel cheerleaders said, you know what? I think we need to commemorate this occasion. I think we need to put something together to make sure the citizens of Marysville know what it means to be a member of Black Squirrel City, know what it means or how we became Black Squirrel City, know what's different about our squirrels, our black squirrels, than other cities' black squirrels. And so we just sat down for a couple times and said, what might a celebration like that look like? And some things we decided were we need to make sure that a year-long celebration involves a lot of different people, so that every month you're not trying to attract the same crowd, but maybe you're trying to attract youngsters one month, senior citizens another month. And let's make sure we involve a lot of different parts of the community. So not just one group or one organization is in charge of this whole endeavor. So it might be that 1 month the Marysville Public Library does something. It might be that the churches do something 1 year, convention, or 1 month. Convention and Tourism does something another month. And then in October of 2022, that's when we officially commemorate and conclude our year-long celebration. And so tonight we're here to say, hey, we have this idea. We'd like your blessing. We'd like to know if any of you want to be involved. And then we'll come back in a month and say, here's what we're putting together, because I bet there'll be somewhat of a financial budgetary item that might take place in October of 2022. And so we'd like to talk to you about that. So for now, I would like to know, or we would like to know, if you're okay with that.
I think it's amazing.
I do too.
Yep.
We should run with it. Run with it.
If you have ideas tonight that you'd like to share, that's great. Otherwise, let me know or any of the people that are on this committee. I listed our businesses, so you can contact us at our place of business. And then does anyone from this council want to be on our committee to join us? Colleen? Great. Anybody else?
I won't be on city council anymore, but I'll be fine to be on.
Great. And Diane? Great. Okay, so we'll be back in a month. Okay. I want to turn this over to our friends from, and then I gave you, if you want more, the paper really is full of these really interesting articles. Or did you hand those out, Cindy? Yeah. They're fun, and they really do give you that essence of that silliness that we maybe don't get to enjoy so much today. So part of this project then involves Convention and Tourism, and so we have Toby and Mandy here to talk about their portion of this.
Hello, Mandy Cook. I am the chair of Convention and Tourism, and I'm here with Toby Carrick, the director. And one of the things that we thought would be really neat for the 50th anniversary is to make, instead of having 34 5-foot fiberglass squirrels, try to make 50. And if we get past 50, woo! I think I've already sold 2 tonight. Woohoo! So we just wanted to make sure that that was okay with you. Speaking from a business, the library, I print off those darn maps well, not darn, but those maps, I print off 15 every 2 weeks. They continually get comments and pictures, and people ask about them all the time and how they started. So I always direct them to City Park with the neat sign. So we would like to continue with that. Of course, the squirrels will be purchased, so it's no city proper or money into it, but you would be the flow through. So they would pay through you, and we would do that as long. And that was kind of what we were making sure was okay with you.
Have you talked to the artist? Is he still okay doing them?
Yes, he is. And he's doing them for the same exact price as before. So, yep.
When will the ones be redone that they're working on now? I was at a meeting and somebody wanted to know, they wanted to come up and see them and they wanted a map, but I didn't know when they were all gonna be back.
Yep, that is a great question. Thank you for asking. I think I don't know how many others have been moved, because I'm redoing the libraries or touching up the libraries. They should all be done by October 1st, the ones that we are going to clear coat. And then the completely redone ones that look a lot different, like Dewey, the squirrel, the library squirrel won't go in the parade. But we would like to have those completely redone ones on display at Black Squirrel Night this year, 2021. Just to kind of get the excitement going, because that's when we're going to kind of kick off, hopefully, our 50th anniversary, and get people excited back with the squirrels, and maybe sell some more.
Okay.
That's a great deal.
And then to talk about Black Squirrel Night 2021, which is where we're going to kick this off, is the Director of Chamber of Main Street.
Thank you. So Black Squirrel Night this year is October 28th. We coordinated that with the high school football playoffs. We always do the opposite day. That way we try to have as much people downtown as we possibly could. Returning this year will be our Footloose dancers. They will be dancing at 6 p.m. We will have the children's costume contest, which is going to be sponsored again by PEPC, which will be in front of the United Bank and Trust building. That will be at 7 o'clock. Last year, because of COVID, we ended up doing the trunk or treat. We are bringing that back again this year. We had 600 kids participate last year, and we just thought, why wouldn't we do this again? Because it was awesome. And we were quite impressed, for not really having a normal Black Squirrel Night. Like they had said, they're going to have the display of the fiberglass black squirrels that are getting updated, so those will be in the Custer House. We've also talked about doing a haunted downtown walking tour. That is all dependent on if we get volunteers and, how that stuff works. That's our plan. If we don't get those people, we will just push it to next year, and we'll probably just kick it off with the rest of the 50th anniversary stuff. But, yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Do you guys have any questions?
Except serving donuts and coffee.
Oh, yes.
Because if you go back to the original, I've always wondered, why does City Council serve coffee and donuts? Because the first year. And so think about that tradition that has carried on year after year after year. We've always served coffee and donuts. So you can't say no to serving coffee and donuts. That's a great thing to carry on.
In downtown, it was done at City Hall.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
The first Black Squirrel Night was right out front here. On October 16th, 1972.
Which is pretty cool.
It was a Friday? No, a Monday, so they could have a 3-day week, weekend. They gave them the holiday, and then you made them a 3-day weekend.
But yeah, it's pretty cool how much history has been dug up for, Black Squirrel Night. I'm glad that we still do it. And continuing this for another 50 years. It's just going to be really cool to see how it plays out every month and, ending in 2022.
In your request, Kate, did you map out kind of what we need from them? I forgot.
Yeah, I had the
blocked.
streets. For the trunk or treat, we had in front of Wagon Wheel, we cut off right in front of them last year because they were redoing the hump in the 7th Street corridor, which this year we are going to extend it depending on how many people we have doing the trunk or treat. Last year it was very crowded, probably not the safest for COVID, but it worked. But this year we're going to ask if we could extend it a little bit further. That way we could spread some people out.
Is that right?
Yes,
Six to
yes.
10?
Yep, 6 to 10th. And then if we did do the walking tour, we had talked about blocking off some alleys, but unless we, just depends what kind of route we plan on taking. We also talked about going in the Kester, the block, just using that, and then we wouldn't have to block anything off. But that just kind of depends how that lays out. We may use the downtown speaker system for announcements. I don't know. I think everybody's just kind of using their own speaker system since we'll have the dancers downtown, but then we'll also have the costume contest going on. So we may just use it for music, some background noise, I guess. But I think that's pretty much it. Trash receptacles, just some extra ones.
I talked to them already.
But yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, any questions?
Not really.
Nope.
Yeah,
Awesome.
be fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Back
guys.
in a month.
Right.
And thank you, Colleen and Diane. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay?
You need to approve that. Let's move for the Black Squirrel Night, Thursday, October 28, 2021, with the items outlined by Kate Tomer for the city to take care of.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, true. Okay.
I need the streets blocked.
Okay, next up, we have flower reimbursement. And
Do you want to talk about this, Cindy?
yeah, you want to
I
talk about it, or
can,
does Diane want to talk about it?
Yeah, or Diane can.
Um,
Beth Skinner brought in her bills at Diane's request, what she had paid for flowers that she put in at the 7th Street corridor and around town. And so we have.
These were just for 7th Street corridor.
Just 7th Street alone, okay. And so you can see that, last year, when I sent this out originally, I said that we planted the flowers in this spring, which we did not. We purchased them November 15th, and Diane planted them yet. So she redid the rose garden last fall. That was the $355. So this year, they did 396 already. So that gives us $104 left. We budget $500 a year for flowers that they plant around town. These were all perennials, I do believe, or most of them are perennials. So they've redone some areas. Hopefully they will stay, and they have to do new ones. So we have $104 left of the $500 that we could give to Beth, or you could approve more to give her all of it, which is $261.15.
A good share of this on last year was bushes and stuff that went up on Water Tower Hill, because they took out
besides the
some
roses.
trees and some bushes up there that were dying. And so a good share of that's why it was quite a bit expensive last year. I redid some roses and stuff, and some of those, the reason we redid them is because we had so many different kinds and stuff, and they planted, I think, some of those up to Water Tower Hill. The daylilies, they planted some of those up there. We didn't throw anything away. It all got repurposed someplace else, and then we redid the rose garden, because the garden club doesn't do it anymore. I pretty well take care of it, and we did it so it made it look nicer. And so now they're all one kind of roses, bushes, and the salvia I had purchased when the Granite Farm over there, and those I got on sale for $2 a piece. So that was my own. And so the rose garden is pretty well all new flowers, and the bubblegum petunias, we purchased this year. Those are annual, so those will be. And then the rest of the stuff pretty much is at the 7th Street corridor that we purchased this year. And Alora apparently decided not to send her bills in. So, and Beth doesn't really care that much. I just feel like it doesn't really hurt us to give her something for this. I mean, they spend a lot of time and money of their own, and that doesn't. And, mulch and stuff, I think the city put the mulch up to, I think they put the mulch up to the Water Tower Hill. I think the city still had some money for mulch up to the city.
That didn't come out of this. Yeah.
No,
Right.
no.
Did the city pay for it?
I have a question. So she's requesting $261.15, and we have $104 left over from this year?
Right.
So what we'd pay her,
Do you want-
$157 plus the $104? Is that what we?
Well, you can either pay her the $261, or you can pay her the $104, or her note says whatever we want to pay her, or none at all.
But what I'm saying is, So instead of paying the whole 260, we could pay the whole 261.
Right,
But
or-
$104 they've still got left over in this budget, right?
Right, so really you're only paying 157.
157
Right.
over
If you
what
just-
they've done.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
We just have the other already budgeted, so.
Okay.
So that's.
I can make a motion, we get this taken care of, get her paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you make a motion to pay the 261.15.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I
7-0.
abstain.
Oh,
6-0.
601. All right.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for everything they do. I mean, they keep that looking good.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Next
People
up,
do tell us when they walk by and they say how nice it looks.
Oh, it
So we
looks
get lots of
nice.
compliments on it, so.
next up, we have Anthony Escalante's request to participate in the ROS program.
Okay, this is his letter requesting participation in the Rural Opportunity Zone through the state of Kansas. Basically what that is it's a reimbursement for student loans. It is at the base of it. And this program, the person, for instance, if approved, Anthony could get up to $3,000 total. And whatever that, $3,000 for 5 years. So
A year?
a year,
For 5 years?
$3,000 a year for 5 years. And the state determines the amount based off how many student loans he has, the dollar amount. So if it ends up being $3,000 a year for 5 years, the city would pay $1,500 of that each of those years. So this is a program we participated in the past. The county opted into it. And 2 individuals, including myself, have benefited from this program. So he requested to be a part of this as well. And just for further clarification, a few years ago, forget which year it was, the council at that point in time said open it up to anybody who wanted to ask for it in our employment.
So what happens if they leave before early?
Then we only pay into it as long as they are an employee.
But they don't have to repay it if they leave early?
No. It's not one of those programs.
I meant this, is he on probation still?
I'm not sure.
When did he
Oh, he
start?
passed.
April. No, he's off now. He's passed his 90 days. Well, no, it's 6 months, isn't it? Yeah. he's not quite-
There's precedent. It happened
Yeah,
within
October
the
would
first.
be off.
Yeah.
So we start paying it now already? He doesn't have to be
It
here by
happens
for a certain amount of time?
in November. It's the state's
The state
timeline.
bills us, we pay the state.
Right, I'm talking that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we pay, if you approve it, we pay when the state asks us to pay it.
I see,
Yep.
okay.
And we send our check to the state sends him a full check, if you guys approve that.
Okay, thank you.
Where's he going to school?
He's already went to school. These are student loans.
From where, to where, to what?
I'm not sure, I don't have a record on that.
I mean, if he's going to the pizza parlor for school or something, I don't see it.
I would recommend not.
This doesn't say anything about what he's getting, what, a degree?
It's
He got a
it's
degree or
student
what?
debt.
Student debt.
Federal.
It's
yeah,
federal
it's
student
federal
loans.
student loans, so they've already, basically,
Yeah,
the
he's already
feds have
gone
already
to
signed
school.
off on it. Yeah, they've gotten a lot stricter about some of that than they used to as far as the for-profit student loans and stuff. I'm not too concerned about that, but
Yeah.
I move to approve the participation in the ROS program for Anthony Escalante.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7-0.
You didn't say opposed.
I thought I said opposed.
Did all in favor say
Oh,
aye?
opposed? 7-0.
All right.
May I ask, is that general fund money?
Typically, it comes out of probably wherever the employee is, but yes. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we have anything under notices and hearings. Next up, we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, any discussion about any items on there? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Next up, we have appropriations ordinance number 3756.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance number 3756, the amount of $444,249.69.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about any of the items on there? Roll call?
Pivia,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Schroller,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Spikeman,
Yes.
Price, Barons,
Yes.
Rom,
Yes.
7-0.
Okay. Next up, we have also staff reports.
All right, the only thing on my list is from a request from the council. And what brought it up is trying to figure out where our street sweeper had been, so we can relay that to anybody who asked us, and present what streets have been done. I found a few different programs, but just thinking about this at a broader note, I took some of the other departments, actually all of the other departments, into consideration and what would be best moving forward, and if the council would want to move to include a lot or all or some of the other departments. After doing the research, I found that Verizon offers a system that would do exactly what we wanted and more. First, we are already a customer of Verizon. Second, Marshall County is also using this system from Verizon on their own vehicles to track their patrol to better respond to instances. Attaches a sample quote to show you the cost per vehicle. They included they pretty much marked everything we talked about to show you the price of it. I'm not looking at all options. I'm only really looking at the vehicle tracking subscription mainly, which would also include the fee for the other thing I'm looking at is the third-party integration subscription, and that's just $1 a month. And what that gets you is the ability to, they would put it on our mapping system that we already have. So everything on our water sewer, storm sewer map that we just got, they could integrate that information into it. And the idea, so talking about the police specifically, if we were to go forward, so the street sweeper was number one conversation. The other conversation was the dump trucks for cleaning up snow, watching that. I strongly contend that adding the police onto that list would be beneficial to the community and the county, because they already integrate this into the dispatch's system. This way the dispatch can better know how to allocate certain units and know what's going on. Now, I mentioned tracking police vehicles. That would strictly, that wouldn't be public information. That would be for dispatch and supervisory things as well. Just not open to anybody who wants to look at it. That would not be appropriate.
It only works with vehicles that has a diagnostic port, right?
No, it doesn't. That's not. If it doesn't have an operational diagnostic port or a diagnostic port that Verizon has, they have a way to wire it in. The downfall to that is you don't get the diagnostics. So, for instance, they said our street sweeper probably doesn't have the proper diagnostic port. They would wire it directly in. You could see various engagement of, so for instance, the brooms. If you want to know when the brooms went down, that direct wire would tell you about that. It wouldn't tell you the check engine light's on or anything like that. Most of our vehicles, I think Verizon said post 1996.
That's correct.
Have diagnostic ports on them.
That's OBD2, what became a national standard on all passenger vehicles in 1960.
So they could plug it into those diagnostic ports and utilize them to do the check engine, do the changing oil, and all monitoring that to keep track of our maintenance. One of the other, I'd say side effects, but positive side effects, is that we can track how people are driving. It shows if they're accelerating too fast, if they're braking too hard, various other things to be monitored by supervisors and the like.
Can we leverage a discount from our auto insurer with that data?
I would ask that question, yes.
This could offset.
Yes.
The expense.
Could.
So,
Could.
yeah,
Very well.
and insurance companies do like this sort of thing.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah. So yes, I definitely, we could have that conversation with our insurance. So my question of the council is this the way you want to go? That's the first and foremost. And second, how far do you want to take it? We are looking at the street sweeper, possibly the dump trucks with or without all the street. Let's just say all the street. I'm recommending the police department, but how far? How far do you want this to go? I kind of threw some numbers out there for you.
Well, if we do police department, we just want to do fire department, because, I mean, if they're out of the country, we could track that.
Right.
I mean,
If
The fire department doesn't get used very much, does it?
the system we use is called SandCell.
That's the other one I looked at.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, you can do all your vehicle inspections on it.
Right.
It's got your logbook on it.
Yeah, this has that option too, but we don't have a log requirement. But it, as you can see, it does a lot of different things. But
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So and the reason I gave you, we already got Verizon, and the positive I did see was that that the county was already using it, and we know it works in their system. So that's where I'm at with that. But
On the Bobcat, I think Bobcat might have their own tracking system. I'm not sure.
They probably do.
Probably. So you have to check into that.
I don't know that, so for instance, ours, if you can, like on our larger equipment, the newer backhoe, we get a phone call or a notification about some of these things they were talking about, the scheduled maintenance. Even when you're running it a little hard, we get notification about that. Those newer pieces of equipment with our maintenance agreements, we probably wouldn't double down on that. We already have that. Now, they're not sending us, okay, you're tracking over here and over there and over there. They're just telling us you're running that a little bit hard, or you're due for a 500-hour maintenance. But the Bobcat, we don't have that ready to go, or we don't have that option right now.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I really believe when you put those figures together, we just wanted to get the street sweeper to get on a map and clean up the town. We didn't want to get $10,000 spent a year to take care of this when our equipment isn't even set up for it.
And I don't know if I'm in myself, and council can decide what they want to do. I don't know if I'm in favor of putting one in everything, but I can see definitely the benefit for the police. And if the fire department thought it would benefit them, or if it could, I don't know if the fire department would want to be incorporated in with the county. I mean, would they want to be part of that system too? I don't know if they really direct them.
I mean, without, I haven't talked with them about it. those vehicles, I mean, you could argue that yes, they would benefit. But it's not as if they're out on patrol. I'd probably circle back to that.
But they do sometime, I mean, they get out in fields and whatever, and I could see where there might be benefit to, like, if they're out in the field and they get
the tires burned off, we'll know where they're at, right?
Well, that
Yeah,
could be
that's
beneficial, that could be beneficial. I can see some benefit to it, but it's something I would say run by chief and see what his thoughts are on it.
I would also say on all the dump trucks too, if you go off Manhattan, Seneca, whatever. You know how.
The dump trucks, I think, yeah, I think the dump trucks, the reasoning was the snow routes. Because people they might get online and look to see where the snow trucks have been. I mean, I could see people doing that. Same with the street sweeper, because, you know, it doesn't have really a schedule, so a lot of time, there's been a lot of questions about what streets the street sweeper has or hasn't been down. But, you know, all the other vehicles, I mean, that's a question for council.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we just, it's $11,000.
At a workshop and talk to the departments.
When's the next, I don't think we got a workshop scheduled for a while unless we want to have a special one.
There's a timeline on that.
And this is not to push anything, but the caveat was I made the call, or when I was talking to them, they had, whether this is salesmanship or not, they had a special on install of vehicles.
Instead of $80 a vehicle, it's free.
It's free right now.
Yeah.
They get a tech to come out and install it for you.
They always get you down the road, don't they, Terry?
So,
but it's still saving.
Let's just spend her all.
Well, no, but like I say, I can see where for the police department, it would be beneficial and it could be a safety concern. I think it would be nice for the county to know where their officers, or if an officer was down or something, they can instantly tell.
You can start with a smaller group. If you want to, and I stress this, if you want to move forward with this project, you can start with a smaller group. You go with the street sweeper, because that was the first one to come up, and you can go with let's say the police, and we start with there, and because you wanted to see the street sweeper, and it benefited the.
We wanted a map, a paper map of where the street sweeper had been. That's all we need to know.
Well, but it doesn't, other than.
Take care of this problem.
The street sweeper, I don't think has a set schedule other than Broadway and up the highway, does it?
That's right, I know it.
Thursdays or whatever day it is, at night. And other than that, it's kind of as needed and.
So,
All you gotta do is write on a paper map where it's been. That's all we need, that's all we wanted to know, where it had been.
So who's gonna do it?
Well, that's the thing, for what this thing's gonna cost
running
us, yeah, but you're gonna spend more time.
Right, we don't have the administrator to do stuff like that.
He's the administrator, lady.
The person running it can do it. Surely they can mark on a map where
It's
they've been.
gonna cost you a lot more in manpower to do it manually than.
okay, well, maybe the
think would be
solution
part of the
is we
system.
start small, we just put one on that street sweeper, and then we have that data, and it gives us a trial balloon to see if we want to expand the program.
I also think we ought to just put it on a car too, like maybe wheels or, you know.
Well, I don't know if.
For the diagnostic side?
I mean, just.
Yeah, I can
data,
see
just
that,
we'll have
but.
data.
I think the street sweeper and the police is what we really need it on, more than anything else.
Well, I'll move, that we put it on the street sweeper.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna
That's
move in
it.
this motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion. Amendments. Amendments.
Can we amend it? I
Can,
can amend what he
That's the
said.
discussion part of it.
Call the vote.
They called the vote.
Call the vote?
Call the vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
Okay, 5-2. I think it was
voted
those
no.
two. Was it 3 or was it just 2?
Colleen,
I got a
Terry,
yay.
yeah, Colleen, Terry, and Diane said no.
I said no.
Oh, you said no?
Bobby said no.
Oh.
It was defeated.
So it got defeated, okay.
Just curious, Austin, what Sam Sarah would cost, because I know that system. I'm just curious how much it would cost.
I'm not sure on Samsara. This is actually the first I've heard of it. I mean, the research I could do was limited to what I could search for.
I found Verizon in that
Yeah,
one.
I mean, unless it integrates with with the county system, at least for the police vehicles, I would stay with the same system.
Yes.
Just to make it convenient work for them. Now, then the other ones, but then then we're trying to use two systems. So that, something to keep in mind too.
Another motion? I make a motion, we do it on the street sweeper and the 1, 2, however many police, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 police vehicles.
I second that.
Okay, discussion?
I don't think it's a good time to be shaking up the police department anymore until things have.
I don't think this is shaking, I don't think it's shaking, I mean, the county's already doing it.
Everything's gonna be perceived
Well,
as shaking.
I don't know, I mean, the county does it,
Something happens, each dispatcher can look on her computer
Yeah.
and say, who's the closest office?
Right.
yes.
True too.
Yeah.
I think it's more efficient, and it's just, like I say, I think it's a safety thing. If you have an officer, something happens to an officer, the sooner you can pinpoint where they're at, the better off you are.
And then if we see that the benefit, and so is that a year? I mean, after a year, if we don't see any benefit, we can then drop it?
Yeah,
for
it is a year contract, but that's a good trial period in the first place.
Right, it is. But what I'm thinking is, if we see we like it on the police and we want to do the dump trucks that we can do it on to see where they're at, I mean, that might be something else. But I think we should at least do the street sweeper and the police department.
Yeah.
It's gonna have fast 10 times.
Street sweeper.
Twister, okay. Any
Do we
further
need to wait for
discussion?
Terry to get back?
Yeah, we better. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, and this isn't anything that's gonna be public anyway, it's something to benefit the county and the
Yeah.
dispatchers, is what it is.
Yeah.
Does it say how much the police vehicles are?
No, that's the standard, everything was 1745, let me see, I added, if we were to include the street sweeper and 12 trucks,
$104.70 per month.
adding the police vehicles in would cost an additional $104.70, and that's $1,256.40 a year.
So what happens if Verizon, if it's down, are they gonna give us credit for the days that it wouldn't work? We've had some trouble with Verizon anyway,
That's a good
haven't
point.
we?
Are we sure this will work? Because my phone doesn't when I'm not on Wi-Fi.
See, I don't have Verizon, so I haven't had.
I
any
have
issues.
Verizon. I don't usually have trouble, but if Verizon wasn't working and we were down for a day or we had technical problems,
Yeah.
are they gonna give us credit for the days
I
that
don't
were?
think, I've had a couple times at my AT&T internet at home, and I shouldn't dog them, but not very often, but a couple times, they never credited me for those
Well,
days.
Diane, if you dedicate a
I don't
couple
think they
hours of
do.
your day and you're on the phone and you talk to 20 people, they'll tell you no.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got experience with
I
that,
may
Todd.
know from experience.
Okay. We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you make a new motion?
Yep.
Or amend it? I didn't hear it.
Street sweeper and
Well, this
police.
is a street sweeper and the police is the motion that's on the floor right now. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye.
No.
3?
Three,
We got-
1, 2, 3 no's? Any other
That's
no's?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, everybody
Yes.
else was yes, so
Yes.
that's 4, 3.
4-3. Okay.
Okay, so it has, so Terry, I write this down, I'll never remember mine.
Let's see, and that's all you had, wasn't it, pretty much?
Just in case questions come up while I'm up on the mic, so you know, there's a lot of projects going on right now. The airport is in full swing. They've ripped everything up that they're gonna rip up, and then tomorrow, they're going to stabilize the base, the sub-base, with Portland cement and, or dry cement, and they'll let that set for a few days, and then they'll be able to lay the concrete on top of that, and the curb and gutter. The other day, or last week, Inline went around and started notifying those on 11th Road that they were going to start on that. CES said they were notified to start doing some staking for the project, so they're going to get to work on that hopefully soon. And then I think for the fire station, Inline said they were going to dig up and start forming for the concrete at the fire station. Parking lot, driveway, I think they're gonna work on not the tube, but the valley gutter that's on the back side that's also concrete. I'm not sure when they're gonna start that, but Inline has 3 different crews working on concrete. And also, the third crew is gonna be up at Hartley Ridge, extending that road out.
To the north?
To the north. Because I think they sold another house.
I think there's another house, yeah.
They sold another house, and they wanted to keep going with Hartley Ridge. We'll have somebody out there to test the concrete on that, as we did with the other side of that concrete, just to make sure it's within spec.
All that water that they're going from there will go north, correct?
All the water?
From the new road, all that will drain to the north.
I think it's kind of got a crest. I think a lot of that flows down to the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
I forget where
I don't know if all of it does or not, but
Yeah,
yeah. a lot
probably
of
not all of it, but-
There's a spot on that cul-de-sac, and then it runs back and
back
drops
into
in.
to that,
Draw.
yeah. So they're going to be working on that. Deep Creek, I think, had finalized their project. They had said that the dirt work looked pretty good compared to some of the other contractors we've had before.
See, they raked a lot of it and seeded it.
Yeah, they seeded it, and so hopefully it'll rain and get that grass growing. See, streets, water. That's all I have for now.
So we don't know when they're gonna do the fire station for sure?
They were gonna try to form it up this week and get it going from there. Which
I hope so.
On
They need to get it run.
On 11th Road, what's their plan are they gonna do one side while the other side's open at a time? Is it gonna be outright closed at some point?
I have to refer back to the plans on that.
I was trying to remember, I didn't know.
The biggest portion of the traffic was getting a temporary road out to the side for the 3 on the west side. But I think it's phased in there.
Well, there's quite a bit of traffic and it goes pretty quick over that hill, so, and an unmanned 1-lane road could legitimately be hazardous, so.
Right. Yeah, I don't have plans in front of me, but
I'm sure they've got a plan.
They made a plan for people to get in and out.
Okay.
The lights at Feldfield.
And then the lights at Feldfield were delivered, and Hanover Electric was going to get to work on that. He didn't say what date he was going to start. He said soon. And there's some pretty poles out there, and sturdy poles, and then their precast concrete bases. I believe Will described it as the concrete that goes into the ground is 1/3 the size of the pole that's above it. They're pretty. They're substantial. So pretty happy that they got those delivered, and happy that Hanover is ready to start on it.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Standing committee reports. Anybody have anything on the street?
All the chip and seal is done, correct?
All the chip and seal is done.
Good.
Yeah, they got that done on last Tuesday.
Okay. Anything else on the street? Water and wastewater? Parks and Rec?
Was Was there an
Yes.
accident in the park? One of the trucks?
And I saw
It was
in the paper, yeah,
If you're talking about the,
like a month ago.
the pole that came down in the park, yes. Minimal damage. Westar said it was a rotted out pole that fell down. Yeah, so that's about it. I mean, I guess what's.
What, did it do anything to the vehicle?
No.
Okay,
No,
well,
it was, the pole was so rotted, Westar admitted they needed to replace it anyways.
well, it'd been nice if you'd have told us about it, though, that we didn't have to read it in the paper. It should be reported in your report, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've asked for that before, so,
We used to get it weekly.
so.
Anything else on Parks and Rec? Cemetery and Airport?
I had a question on the helipad's closed during the construction project.
Yes.
What are they using as a backup helipad?
Okay, so the FAA doesn't want us to name a backup helipad.
So it's a secret?
But we are. There is a location for emergency landings, which they can use.
There's a designated
There's
spot.
Yes.
That they know about. That's all that matters,
Yes,
frankly.
the helicopter has a location, it's not super secret. They can they're using our apron. The new apron, we put out an extra bright light so they could use that area to land for emergencies
I was just curious, make sure we had somewhere.
Yeah, no, the FAA did not allow it, they just said helipad's closed. So we made arrangements.
And when do they expect the project to be complete? I mean, once the concrete's poured, I assume the helipad can reopen.
Once the concrete is poured and cured, it's
21 days after it's poured.
yeah.
Out there a ways.
Yeah. But they're going pretty fast on this. They're gonna let that subbase cure, and it's a simple. I mean, outside of the FAA requirements that makes it complicated, it's a pretty simple, straightforward project. So it should be done in relatively short terms, and the longest part probably will be that curing.
So, a down the road question. I know, like, okay, if we have a problem with the runway, we don't send the street crew out to fix it.
Yes.
Street crew will be okay to do repairs on this street.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a separate classification from the road.
Okay, oh, I got thinking eventually the salt's gonna eat a chunk out of the concrete and
Yeah.
we're gonna have to replace it, and I thought, oh man, are we gonna have to have somebody special lay their hands on it? But
It'll
no.
be another
Yeah,
one of
not
these
for
that we'll
this.
have to use sand only on.
Yeah.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
We'll put sand only on it for 5 years. This is, it's a separate classification. It doesn't have to meet the specs of a runway. In fact, they let us downgrade to KDOT specs on the concrete mix. So, I mean, that was a positive to get that going, to get the concrete. And, yeah, we can repair.
Okay, I was just curious,
Yep.
make sure.
Okay.
I seen Dom and the boys got all the flagpoles in up at the cemetery.
Yep.
Looks real nice up there.
Yes, it
Figure out
does.
Everyone's been around
Looks
there.
You got them
really
all in
nice.
now?
Yeah, outside circle's completed too.
How many total is there?
84,
Yeah.
something like that, or
So they-
something like that, with the possibility of wanting to put 50 more in
Yeah, I
or
was gonna
something,
say, I
I
thought
think,
they
or
were, in the
something.
paper, they said they wanted to put more in too, or
Yeah.
something.
Have they put the sign in?
I doubt the sign's in there yet. Just the
I don't know,
flagpoles.
something like that's completed, I don't
Yeah.
remember what the paper said for sure, but something like that.
I had something, and I mentioned it to Austin last week, but they got some new toilets in out at the little office rest area out at the airport.
Airport building?
Yeah, at the airport building.
Terminal?
Yeah, but if you've been in there recently into the bathrooms,
Haven't recently.
the floors are, I
Bad.
mean, they need replaced.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know what our cleaning schedule is out there, but it might be something that we'd want to get into some kind of rotation.
The other fixtures.
I mean, the paint's not bad. I mean, the main thing that stood out to me was the floor. I mean, are you talking about the plumbing fixtures?
I think some of the sink. Last I remembered, I thought the sink was.
The sinks are not.
Well,
the sinks aren't great either.
A little long in the.
But they're, compared to the floor, if you get a new floor in there, the sinks might look somewhat better.
That's how it works.
Or they might look worse
You
because the
fix
floor looks
fix one
nice.
thing, everything else gets jealous. So were you thinking?
That's not a this year thing. I don't know what we got in the budget for it. It's the old lay down, like
Todd, have you been
vinyl
into
tile.
Identities, which has a
Identities, have you seen the floor in there?
Well, that floor looks awesome.
The one that makes me feel seasick, yes, I've seen that floor.
I think that floor looks so cool.
Well, it probably wouldn't affect any of those guys that flat lanes are used to it.
My thought would be on that floor up there, if you put something down that they use on a garage floor, like an epoxy with the fleck in it or whatever.
Like they have in the restrooms at
It's
City
easy to
Park.
mop.
Yeah.
Easy to maintain. It lasts forever.
This is where the tile's gotten to the point where it, curls.
Oh, I've
and
seen it. It's bad.
It's bad. Some of it doesn't, I mean, some of it's been replaced, but it doesn't match. And, I mean, and I realize it doesn't get a lot of use, but at the same time, when you fly in, it's your first impression kind of Marysville is that.
Does it curl, the tiles curl, but does the floor curve up to the wall, or does it meet at a right angle?
I think it's just a right angle, but
It's a right angle.
Yeah, I don't think there's a curve or anything.
I mean, to me, ideally, it would have that curvature, like you see a lot of gas stations. I'm trying to think of a good example right around here.
Yeah.
So it's really easy. Do their floor drains?
In the one bathroom.
I don't
Is there one?
think there's.
There's one in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Is there?
One. Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to spend a lot of money to make it long-lasting and easy to take care of.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. I mean, it's been a while, but the last month
It just,
there,
it is something I
remember it being
noticed when I
shoddy.
was out there and
Yeah.
thought, in the future sometime,
Yeah.
so.
They do this winter project.
Well, it'd be a great winter project. I mean, it's nice inside, heated.
Fold the tile up, smooth it down, and
That tile looks like it mostly wants to come up.
It's not gonna take much to
You
get
open the
that
door, it
tile
might
up.
leave on its own.
And then when I put the toilets down, I didn't silicone, and a lot of times I'll silicone it down on the floor like that, but I didn't, because I didn't want to have to deal with that if the floor gets replaced in the
Yeah,
next
because
year.
then after you replace the floor, you put it down, then you can seal it.
Yeah, I
Then
mean,
it's
you're gonna
easier.
be cleaning it all off there, and it's just a mess, so, anyway, that's all I had on that. Police and fire?
Now, one thing.
Yes, Terry.
Mr. Mayor. I believe we need to get, it's our first meeting in October, and our code book says that we'll hear from the fire chief.
Can do that.
7102 says that.
Because
You
we
want
could
a
ask
report,
him.
or what would you like me to ask him to talk
What
about?
it's asked for, he shall submit a written report to the condition of the fire equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yearly deal. We didn't do it last year.
Well, usually, the workshop, we usually discuss the equipment and what we're gonna purchase and replace usually, but,
We won't have one for this year yet, will we? I mean.
we're pretty much done with works. I mean, typically those are in the spring.
He needs some
Late winter.
report, and that's all.
Before budget, and we did budget already, right?
Yeah, that's all. So, yeah, because we could ask him about the tracking too, as far as that goes.
How much did it cost us for Deep Creek to do the parking and the firehouse?
That's been a while back.
What do you mean? The invoice for the park, you mean this line, to put the water line in, Diane?
Yeah.
Which
How much
one?
did it cost us for Deep Creek to do the water, to put in the water line at the firehouse?
The firehouse, a little over $7,000.
$7,000?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on police and fire? Admin finance?
I have a question on that, and maybe I should know this. Do we have an official policy if a city employee wants to, we'll say, donate blood? Can they do that on the clock?
No, we don't have that policy.
Why not?
It's a good question. I mean,
It always takes 2 hours, you're right, when you go up there, it does, because that's why I stopped doing it. It just,
It's been a lot faster the last couple times
Has it?
because they haven't had as many people. And
They
there's
didn't have the
incidentally,
amount
no,
that they needed.
there's a shortage
Yeah.
nationwide. And it's one thing to do it, it's another thing to encourage people to do it, but I'm in a position to bring it up to city council that, we don't have to say they should or shouldn't, but if they want to do it, I'd like us to be able to facilitate that. I mean, it's doing good for their community and helping protect those in need. We should all strive to do that as public servants, right? So can we look, I don't know if this is one we want to reach out to other cities. A lot of organizations do have, my work has an unofficial policy that's like, go do that. But I'm sure there are official policies. I don't know if the county has anything or.
they used to do it, and then they didn't let them anymore because it took too much time.
Okay. Well, and
But it's
this is the kind of thing, like, if it becomes a problem, I guess we can re-examine it, but it was doing a good thing to find out. So can we work on creating a policy about that? And like I said, it may be one person, it may be 10, but, it just takes one person to make a difference, so.
Well, if they give double reds, like
Yeah.
I try to do, I go 4 times a year, that's about it.
Yeah.
And then, but otherwise you can do it every other month.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
But what are the hours? The hours are so that they can go after work and stuff, I think.
Well,
too,
it usually runs till like 6 is the last one, but they don't want everybody doing that. There's only so many appointments.
Is it only 6
And
o'clock now?
I think so.
Yeah, it's just 6.
Is
yeah.
it 6?
I'm
Okay,
thinking
I
that's-
don't
Ben
know.
always schedules in at 5:15.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought it was later than 6 o'clock.
And I don't think, I like doing it because it's a good
Nope,
thing to
that's-
do, but I don't think anybody's gonna be like, golly gee, I can get out of work and they're gonna go stab me. And honestly, if they are, still okay, I'll take it. So, yeah, but they have wonderful cheese spread sandwiches.
They do.
I go for the
Yes,
cheese
they
spread
do.
sandwiches, let's not.
Crystal Lord makes them.
Yeah, they're.
She makes the cheese.
I don't get that at home, so. Anyway, if we could look at doing that.
I said
think that
Crystal
kinda
Lord
goes
makes the
under
cheese.
administration, so.
All right. Anything else on admin and finance? Yes,
Are we gonna get a swimming pool report this year?
we should
After
be
the end of
getting
this
that.
month, we'll have all the bills paid.
Right, no, we were working on that. I asked Crystal to present one, yeah.
Okay, wait for Todd to get back. We don't have anything under appointments and wage determinations. Do we need to have an executive session?
I'd request one.
Okay.
That's what we decided last special meeting.
Oh, Bobby's got the,
Should I wait for Todd, so he's
Yes.
not surprised?
Yeah.
you can, or you could start reading it. You'll probably be back about the time you're done.
And then he'll feel bad.
Move this along.
It would be for personnel matters.
Yes.
And litigation.
Attorneys.
Yes,
Yes.
Squirrel.
and we'll dial in. She's watching right now.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Did she watch all of it?
Oh, yes. He's got notes and,
Okay. Members of the governing body of the city of Marysville were called to order in a special meeting at,
That's your minutes. Do
That's
you want?
minutes.
That's minutes.
Yes,
I want
ma'am.
this.
You need the other sheet.
Okay, so
oh,
this
tell
is
Terry you're gonna give the.
executive session on attorney matters, or do you want just
just standing up
personnel?
for a minute,
There's,
just sitting
that's
forever,
personnel, that's
killing it.
attorney matters.
No, litigation, just say,
The litigation?
no, the
Yeah.
employee,
Say,
the employee.
Okay, you want personnel?
You can do both.
Just say,
I didn't know.
both.
Can I just add the words in?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, all right, I move the city recess into executive session for consultation with an attorney on matters deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship about litigation or claims against the city, and to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel, discuss on specific personnel matters, not general personnel policies. Exception KSA 75-4319B1. The meeting will include the mayor, city council, city administrator, and the city attorney. The open meeting will.
Attorneys.
What?
attorneys.
Attorneys.
Attorneys. The meeting will resume the city council chamber at
Half hour?
Yeah, probably half an hour.
10:05?
Yeah.
10:06?
10:06.
10:06.
6. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Yeah, you gotta get us back online. Back on yet?
Yep, back on.
Are we?
I don't know.
Okay. Call this meeting back to order. No binding decisions were made.
Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the no binding decision, but I would ask our opportunity to meet with your attorneys again for an additional 10 minutes to discuss litigation as well as personnel matter, underlying related personnel matters.
Is 10 minutes gonna be enough, John?
I think so.
Okay.
15, just in case.
Yeah.
That'd be fine.
Let's do
You should
15.
call.
Yeah, go 15.
Are we ready?
Just in case.
I move the city council recess into executive session to discuss personnel matters of the non-elected personnel, discussion on specific personnel matters, not general personnel policies, exception KSA 75-4319 B1 and KSA 75-4319 B2. This meeting will include the mayor, city council, city administrator, and city attorney. The open meeting,
Attorneys.
attorneys.
Yep.
The open meeting will resume in the city council chamber at, you said 10:22?
Yeah.
And the one statute you mentioned, it involves litigation, right? Is that correct?
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause you
both
didn't
of
say
them.
litigation.
You want into, yeah,
10:22.
yes.
All right. That was second. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0.
10:07?
Yeah, it
Sorry,
goes
I
live.
apologize for this. There we go. Yeah.
Back on?
Should be back on.
Okay.
Yep.
Call this meeting back in order. No binding decisions were made. Go back to the regular meeting.
Round table.
Round table. Bobby. Todd.
No.
Diane.
No, I'm not gonna think about it.
Larry. Keith.
I was, but I'm not now.
The only thing I
Colleen?
want to know is, somebody asked me, is it 500 Carolina or 5th and Carolina? That, down there, is there anything being done?
By the church?
No, not
Down here.
down here.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. He checks on it every once in a while, he gets it cleaned up, and then he stops.
Oh.
And you should see it now.
Yeah.
That's been
Talked about it
ongoing.
last week. Yeah, we revisited that.
We did a rat stop on that one, didn't we?
Yep.
Couple of times.
Rat
Yeah.
stop at least once.
Couple of times.
Yeah.
And those rats weren't even his fault, I don't think. That we found some interesting
Oh, Roy?
things going on.
There's
But
plenty of
anyways,
places for them.
we won't talk about that. We won't talk about
I
that.
want to see that in a report.
Yeah, I drive by it all the time and it just,
Yes.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor.
Have too much. I'd just like to say to you guys, I mean, it's been a rough last few weeks for all of us. And I know a lot of hours go into this, and it's kind of a thankless job. You don't get paid much. I mean, and we're just a bunch of just random people.
yeah.
Go to work every day and then come here to sometimes get yelled at for hours on end. But I'd just like to thank you guys. I mean, appreciate you coming here for that.
Jason, and you're
Well,
doing a
thank
very
you
fine
too.
job.
Yeah, I try, but yeah.
I do have a question for John though. What are the steps to rescind a motion? I mean, is there any steps
You
prior to
rescind
that?
You mean if you want to change back and
Yes.
make it's just like the Supreme Court says, once you charter out from that statutory.
Change your motion. What do you mean change your
Well,
motion?
he said, he may want to have the direct supervisory capacity of the council. So the charter ordinance exempt them out. In the Supreme Court, this is what they don't understand. The Supreme Court says, you don't have to do a charter every time you want to change it because particulars can be changed by regular ordinance. That's the Supreme Court of Kansas saying that. I think the AG would say, yeah, Supreme Court's right on this. And that's what the council did. They exempted out. And then they had this discussion where every time you dink with it, you got to go back to charter order. That's not the law. And so it would take basically a new ordinance, motion, second, and here's the ordinance that says we're going to go back and have all these, the fire chief and all these heads, the police chief, be independent heads or direct reports to the council. Yes, that can be drafted up and put it back prior to 2011.
So you could just make a motion to rescind ordinance 1900, for example, or?
No, you should.
No.
You have to propose an ordinance saying what it is.
The problem is basically when that charter ordinance was done, they should have just chartered out and then passed a regular ordinance pertaining to the administrative part of it. And for some reason, they lumped it in there. And what the Supreme
That keeps
Court
it
said-
simple.
Yeah,
but
it does, and
yeah.
I can understand why they do that. But as John has mentioned several times, I mean, there's arguments why that is not the case, and you can change that administrative part without passing another charter ordinance. And the league agreed with that, and then the Supreme Court.
Why did we
said that
agree
too.
with that?
No, the league didn't.
Well,
It was a tough issue. They know how people play upon them. They come in, the league said this, the league said this. They're skilled enough to avoid being blindsided. And so what I found was the Supreme Court saying, hey, if you opted out and for this administrative type of position, and the subject matter does make a big difference. And the Supreme Court case is court costs. So the argument made by the public today, every time you change court costs, you need to have people vote on it. You're gonna raise it $5, we gotta spend $4,000, and the people decide whether or not you're covering your costs. That's not the way it works. It's an administrative type of action, and then because it's administrative, the particulars can be done by regular ordinance. But contrast again to a liquor, if you're gonna sell liquor on,
Sundays.
Sundays
that was a
or,
charter, wasn't it?
Easter,
I think.
that,
It's a
I can't
60
remember if
day,
that
it's
was.
not a charter.
that's a legislative type of thing, and if the council wanted to change that, it's gotta be a charter ordinance.
How many charter ordinances does Marysville have?
I'd say
21, 23, I think.
At least,
23.
yeah.
I think.
How many have we ever had a vote on? One.
No, all of them would have been originally voted on.
You mean up before the public election?
There was a lot of it petition.
I don't remember.
Only one. I do know that. It's never been an expense to the city to have a charter ordinance.
21.
Is it 21? Yeah.
21, but
21
a lot,
charter
there's about 3 or 4 of them that's been
A
repealed.
charter ordinance, you had to publish in the paper.
For
61 days.
61 days.
petition.
It's very
Person
similar.
had a chance, if they wanted to get a petition, to vote against it. That's understandable. But it's never happened here except on this alcohol deal.
Yep.
Oh, what alcohol deal?
That was, how many years ago was that, Terry?
A long time ago.
Yeah. That was
Maybe on
about-
the swimming pool. I can't remember. Is there some on the swimming pool that went up for a vote?
That was
we
a
had a-
public vote, but I don't think it was
that's
charter
called vote.
ordinance.
That was a sales
Charter
tax.
ordinance.
That was a sales tax.
That's right. Anyway, anybody have any other discussion?
Move to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?